Hey everybody, this is Carl. Welcome to Carl's Opinion. This is our Saturday night live call-in show. How you guys doing? Hope you're doing well tonight. See Forbidden down there, Effie, D.A. Archer, Rocky, Mo as well. And let's see who else I saw up there. I think I saw Shonda come in, but way earlier, if I'm mistaken. Yep, sure did. So anyway, hey, good seeing you guys in the chat. Welcome to all those who are viewing us, all those who will be viewing us later on the rebroadcast. So we got a lot of news to get to today. Of course, Joe Biden. This was predictable. I mean, it's like almost every day now. I mean, it's like he can't go a full day. I mean, the other day it was twice in one day. Now it's another. Now it's something else. And you see the headline there. Hey, Jervis man, how you doing? See you down there. But yeah, just hello, Mr. Jervis, Rocky. Good seeing you. Shotgun as well. Shotgun Rita. And but anyway, yeah. So today he was in Iowa. I mean, again, this was just yesterday. He made the last gaffe about, I guess only black kids are poor kids in America. There's only poor kids in America are black kids. There's no poor white kids or, if you're black, you're poor. I guess that's it's probably the way he thinks. Remember, he was palling around with segregationists back in the '70s and '80s and stuff. And then today he makes another mistake. I don't call it a gaffe. I mean I think he's like Trump said, he's not playing with a full deck. Again, the part that pisses me off the most is that he knows it. He knows it. His family knows it. His friends know it. A lot of Democratic donors are also knowing it as well. There's a lot of talk and chatter about that. And today he said he was the vice president while during the Parkland shooting. Now unless he meant like he was partly responsible for the Parkland shooting along with President Obama, because remember correctly, what he put in place, President Obama and Vice President Biden, was something called restorative justice in the school system. And restorative justice meant that it was two things. It was two parts of that. He put a civil rights division inside the Department of Education. First time ever. Never had one. Department of Education, I believe, came out in the late 70s. And the first time ever we had a civil rights division. The main reason for that was because President Obama believed that children of color, black and brown kids, were being disproportionately suspended and expelled from school at a much higher rate than their white counterparts. So he's like, hey, he told these school districts, including Baltimore, which makes no sense. Baltimore's spends Baltimore itself spends the fourth highest amount per child per year in the entire country. I think it's like $16,000 a year per student per year. That's a lot of money. And if you think about all the other nice neighborhoods that spend less than Baltimore does, and Baltimore has one of the worst school districts, there's nothing racist about it. The mayor is black. Most of the city council is black. The school superintendents have been black there for a long time. Most of the principals there are black. So there's nothing racist about it. It's just, whatever reason, it just can't get the job done. In like 13 out of 39 schools, not one kid is proficient in math. And some of the schools that were like almost proficient was really bad. So anyway, so this restorative justice thing was to prevent the school to prison pipeline and also prevent any kind of systemic racism in the schools. Well, one of the kids that, if you will, benefited from that, I believe the kid's name was Cruz down at the Parkland High School, and he was Hispanic, Latino, or at least was half Hispanic. I'm not quite sure, but anyway, because he was a child a child of color, he never got expelled. In fact, the sheriff even bragged about all the kids he kept from the juvenile justice system, including this kid, that they would do a restorative justice, like a mediation, try to talk to the kid, reason with them, say what's bothering you, so maybe we can do something to help. Maybe you're only acting up and making death threats to people because bad things have happened in your life. I don't know, but anyway, this kid never got expelled. The kid in Parkland. There was talk at first, oh, he was expelled and this, that. He was never expelled. He was bounced around from school to school, but he never once got expelled. In other words, he never once learned there were any consequences to his actions. Nobody ever said, if you do this, this bad thing will happen to you. Or if you make these kind of threats, you're going to go to juvenile court. You're going to be placed into custody, and don't do this because actions have consequences. So these kids, they don't think their actions have any consequences, including this kid in Parkland. So maybe when he was saying he was the vice president, maybe what he's really saying was, I'm partly responsible for the Parkland shooting. Maybe. Probably not. He probably just is, again, he's in another world. You saw the description there. I listed some of the other mistakes he made. It wasn't just a Parkland school shooting. There's a story covered by several outlets where the college co-ed kid came up to him and said, "Hey, how many genders are there?" He hesitated, and then he goes, "Oh, three." And so she asked him, "Well, can you name them?" And he looks at her and he goes, "Hey, don't mess with me, kid." Right? And then so she just starts walking away. Then he grabs her by the arm and pulls her in close to her. And what I heard him say, because I had to listen to it a few times, was like, the first guy that asked you to, for marriage, take it. In other words, like, you're ugly, you better take it, take what you can get. But he grabbed onto her. I mean, that's a battery. That was an unwanted touching. She didn't ask for that. That was a battery right there on camera. He likes grabbing these young girls, and he likes to manhandle them, as you can tell. He likes to, push them around and stuff. So, I mean, he's got some serious issues going on here, especially young girls. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure he was real happy about the Epstein, quote unquote, committing suicide today, because I'm sure his name was on that list. We know Governor Bill Richardson, who's a regular person on MSNBC, Mr. Oh, the president's a bad guy, he's a terrible guy kind of stuff. He was on that list for Jeffrey Epstein. And also former Senator Mitchell, who was a former majority leader in the Senate, a Democrat, he was on the list too. So you remember, Epstein hung out with primarily Democrats. And then, of course, MSNBC has to find one picture from, I think, 2002 or something like that, or it almost looked like it was from the 90s, picture with Trump next to Epstein. That's all they kept showing. But, they never mentioned Bill Clinton's name once. They said, oh, he flew the former president. Yeah, 26 times. Bill Clinton 26 times. So, I mean, it was, that was pretty bad. Um, oh, wow. It's, no, it's a. Anyway, thanks, guys, and be back here right now. So, yeah, we had a looked like it was a coyote on the surveillance camera. It turns out it was a German Shepherd dog. So, yeah, so I had to go investigate that. Wasn't sure if it was a coyote or not, but it looked initially like a coyote on the surveillance cameras, but it was turned out just a German Shepherd dog, one of the neighbors' German Shepherd dog. So, good seeing you guys. So, yeah, that was the zombie. You saw that. That was, you know, so there you go. But anyway, so we're back and happy to see you guys. And, but yeah, that was the zombie effect there, as you see. Got that all dialed in and ready to go. The zombie had to be engaged. So, but yeah, live call-in show, 775-273-8970. Again, that's 775-273-8970. And let's get the phone number up. I don't see it up there right now. So where are we here? Nope, that's not it. Let's see. There we go. All right, so there's the phone number and there's the email address. So email address is ca2jogger@gmail.com, and the phone number is 273-8970-775, 273-8970. So if you want to call in, that's the call-in number. But anyway, let's get to this story first, and let's go and check it out. And then I have a special treat for you. I have the Donald Trump YouTube channel has a little video on the squad, and I'll play that for you when we get done covering this story. Before we get to the next story about the squad in Guatemala, I'll show you that video. But anyway, here it is here. Let me jump this down a little bit. All right. So, but Biden continues string of gaffes. Let's see. Biden continues string of gaffes by claiming he was vice president during the Parkland shooting. This is from the Washington Examiner, and this is from today. So let's take a look here. 2020 Democratic White House hopeful Joe Biden added to his recent series of gaffes by claiming he was the vice president during the shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida last year that killed 17. Speaking with reporters in Iowa on Saturday, the former vice president said, "Those kids in Parkland came up to see me when I was vice president." This guy is not all there. I'm just telling you that right now. This guy is not all there. He just isn't. So somebody needs to say something to him. Somebody needs to get him out of this because, I mean, he's imagining that, like when the shooting went down, he must have been imagining he was in the White House and imagining they came to see him. I mean, this isn't a gaffe. This is him this is delusional. This is him believing this happened. I mean, you wouldn't make this, a gaffe would be like, I don't know, instead of saying Parkland, he says, I don't know, Sugarland High School. But no, he didn't. He said those kids in Parkland came up to see him when he was vice president. He imagined this. This is like in his long-term memory. It got from he imagined it. It was in his short-term memory, and it's stuck back in his long-term memory, and it's sitting back there, where he thinks this event actually happened. So, and then he went on to say, I mean, this is not a gaffe. Okay, understand, this is not a gaffe. Because then he went on to say they did not want to face it on camera, he added. But, I mean, so he's imagining a whole event. He's imagining an event that never happened. It happened in his head. I mean, who knows, if you elect this man president, what else is he going to be imagining in his head? Is he going to imagine the missiles flying, from Russia? Hey, the missiles are flying. We got to launch. Everybody be looking at him like, what the hell are you talking about? No, the missiles are flying. Now, it takes a lot to do a preemptive strike. There is no everybody said, oh, Trump's got his hand on the nuclear button. No, I mean, to do a preemptive strike, a lot of people have to agree to that. Okay, so, unless he's surrounded by a bunch of other morons, that would say, yeah, I see them too. In fact, I see them in the air above us. Look, there's a missile going right above us right now. We better launch. He's liable to go off like that. It'd be like King George, just kind of go crazy, just running up and down the hallways, yelling and screaming at people. I mean, this is scary. But I mean, he has this whole event. Here he goes. Those kids in Parkland came up. Got a phone call coming in. Here we go. Hey, Mr. Dirtbag, how you doing?
Hey, Carl, what's up? How you doing? Everything good?
Everything's good.
I just got the notification. You were live, and I'm like, man, I didn't know Carl was going live tonight.
Yeah.
If I was better prepared, I'd do a VMix call. I'm sorry, but I don't have my laptop on me.
Oh, no, man, you're good.
But you know what? I like doing that better than calling in, because, it's like, people can, it helps to, like you were saying, get the message out better, you know what I'm saying? People can more relate to, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I just got to work on not doing so many hand gestures when I talk. That's a bad habit of mine, but.
Well, no. If that's how you talk, that's how you talk. I mean, that's how you are. I mean, you can't change who you are when you're doing a show like this. You just got to be who you are. You can't try to be somebody else. If you talk with your hands, you talk with your hands. I mean, that's just the way it goes. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. No, man, you do good. You do good on the VMix calls. No, it's always enjoyable. Totally. But did you hear the story? Did you hear the story I was just covering? This one here about Biden thinking that he actually isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and I saw the one too where he said that where he said that children. Did you say another story where he said children of color are as bright as white kids? I mean,
Well, no, no.
where,
What he was trying to say,
whatever they're.
yeah, what he was trying to say, he goes,
Hmm?
poor kids or white kids, like all poor kids were
Uh,
black, and then or white kids, and then he caught himself, and then the other night he
hmm,
mixed up. He was at a fundraiser in San Diego, and he was talking about the shooting in El
hmm,
Paso and in Ohio, right? Well, instead of saying El Paso in
uh,
Ohio, he said Houston in Michigan.
yeah, yeah.
No,
I
there's
mean,
something wrong. There's something
I don't
wrong with
know
him.
what they're. Yeah. Well, the thing is that I don't know what they're putting him on. I mean, it's like they're giving him a daily dose of Red Bull or something. But he's gonna, if they don't get him, if they don't get him to stop running, you know, he's gonna. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, he's doing good for us. You know what I'm
Well,
saying? But
yeah, yeah, sure.
you know, did you see that video? You know, it's funny too because and this is something too that it hit me when Amazing Lucas said it. It hit me. I mean, I'm like, Lucas is right. You know, that video where those kids were having it was just like those young adults that were talking they were addressing they were in some kind of meeting for socialists or something like that,
Hmm.
and they were talking about, well, we got to be inclusive, and they're using terms like comrade, and Lucas hit it right on the mark. I mean, he's like making fun. He's like, telling us, look, this isn't funny. We think it's funny, but it ain't funny. You're getting the goods of the future.
Yeah,
You know,
no,
I
I
shared it
agree.
on my, I shared it. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I mean, yeah, I made a joke or two about it here and there, but I'll tell you what, when I saw that thing from Lucas, it woke me up. I mean,
Oh,
it's like,
about the convention, the Democratic Socialist
yeah,
convention, when everybody was doing the jazz hands and everybody
yeah,
was getting triggered, and he was
yeah,
telling, "Please don't talk so loud, or you're triggering me," and don't
yeah,
use. And then somebody goes, "Yeah, guys, don't do that." And this other guy stands up, "Hey, don't say guys," and he goes, "Oh shit, I said guys. You're
yeah,
right." I mean, yeah,
yeah,
these are some weird people.
yeah. Well, Carl, and Lucas, like, one thing I did not, now here's something I wish that, and I hope Lucas addresses it because, I mean, he was saying, like, yeah, go to your rallies, go to your, to your things like that, but these people are, are preparing and stuff, where are our rallies? Well, you know, I like to see some of these people like Lucas tell us where these rallies are. I mean, it's funny because I called my local Republican Party, right?
Hmm.
Here where I live.
Yeah.
And the response I got was,
What?
I asked them, look, do you guys need volunteers? You're looking for volunteers to get people to the polls? And the first thing out of their mouth was, oh, no, we don't do that. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm sorry I wasted your time. Well, he quickly changed his tune. He quickly changed his tune, and he said, well, there's things we can do online. We get people to the polls. And I'm like, no, I want something where I can sign up to volunteer
Right.
to get people back and forth to the polls. And I'll tell you, I went into a VA's, VA's, well, I thought it was an office. I wound up being a bar, but, maybe I thought maybe they could have pointed me in the right direction.
What you mean, like the
And
veterans?
I
You
was
mean You
asking,
mean VA, like Veterans Administration, like a VFW or something?
yeah, it was like a VFW, I believe, but, there was a
Okay.
turner
Okay.
there, reminiscing, um, and, I'm asking them, like, where can I go to volunteer, to help get people to the polls and stuff. And I was surprised that, the guy goes, oh, well, we got that covered. And, I'm like, what kind of an answer is this?
We got it
You know,
covered. We
yeah,
have
I'm
it
like,
covered. Well, they better wake the
and
fuck.
I
They
said,
better wake the fuck up because the Democrats,
yeah,
they're hustling. They're hustling. I mean,
yeah,
they're not stopping, and they're not going to wait for us to get our shit together. And here you are
yeah,
calling, saying, "Hey, I'll do you one better than that." There was my local Republican Party was having a function here about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago. And what I do when I go out to a function, I put a full page out of the newspaper to advertise the function and advertise that I'm going to be there. So it's like, hey, Wild West, and I put the dates and the times, and I do all that stuff. And I said, hey, look, I'll go out, I'll broadcast from your function, your Republican function. They're holding it on the north end of town like at a resort. I'll broadcast from there because they were selling tickets. It was to raise money. I said, I'll broadcast from there, and I'll put a full page out in the newspaper to advertise it because there are a lot of new people moved into our town, and they don't know anything about you guys. They don't know about the local Republican Party. This would be a great way for new people who just moved in. We got like 10,000 new people just moved into town literally in the last 3 years. And I said, this would be a great way to introduce them and stuff, and I'll go live, and I'll have the YouTubes out there and everything. And they said, oh, no, we don't, they kind of like what you ran into. They said, well, we don't want to make it that big of a high-profile event. And I'm like, why, are you people retarded or something? What's wrong with you people? What do you mean don't want to make it? I'm giving you a free full-page newspaper ad. I'm going to be broadcasting live and let me tell you, doing an event in the field when you take all this equipment that you can't see that I have in front of me and moving that, because I don't just take the phone and do like a phone thing out in the field. I take all this broadcast equipment so I can do all the graphics and everything. And I can do the call-in shows with the video call, and I can do live interviews. I have 2 mics set up for live interviews and stuff. I could have been interviewing local Republican leaders and stuff and introducing them to the people in the town. And they said no. I said, look, I'm paying for the ad. I go, look, I'll even buy a ticket for the event, like to buy entries. Like I'm trying to get some free food. I go, this thing, it takes me like 2 hours to set this up and 2 hours to break it all down again. I go, this isn't a lot of fun for me when I go out to do something like this, okay? It's a lot of work. And they said no. So same thing you ran into. Like, you better wake the fuck up.
Ridiculous. Yeah. Well, you know what I think is happening now. I'm not gonna. I can't bash everything. I mean, Lucas brought up some good points, but I think with people like Brandon Straka, right? People like Brandon Tatum, even Amazing Lucas himself, right?
Yeah.
I think we're kind of getting more exposed to what organization is. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because even the rallies,
No, go ahead. I'm just laughing. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, it's sad and it's scary, but I still do believe that we're getting better at getting organized. I mean, like, because I've seen rallies on, I've seen like when Crowder goes out there and he does the Change My Mind videos. That's doing something,
Oh yeah, when he goes to the colleges.
Weaver goes out there, yeah. In Turning Point USA, they hold rallies, they hold discussions. So it's not like we're not doing anything, But what I think is happening, because Turning Point USA wasn't getting big until Trump got elected. I mean, they were. I didn't even hear of Turning Point USA until Trump got into office.
Right.
But they're getting bigger, and they're getting I guess. Like, from what I understand, they've been going to different. They've been doing their campus clash. And so what we're seeing now is more people getting organized. They're starting to get organized, which is good. It's a good thing, but they got to get, and I'm not trying to I understand beggars can't be choosers, but we got to get faster at it. We got to get, more, I mean, I'm looking to try and take some vacation time because, I work extremely long hours. I'm looking to take some vacation time around the holiday. I mean, around the time voting starts, just so I can get people to the polls. I'm not even looking for gas money. I'm not even looking to sign up for any kind of Uber or anything.
These people better wake up. I mean, the conventions are less than a year from now. I mean, this is not a joke. I mean, the conventions are less than a year from now. The caucuses start in February and they finish up in June. I mean, that's February, March, April, May, June. That's like 5 months. I mean, you don't have a lot of time. I mean, things have to move. I mean, this is August. I mean, you better start organizing now. I mean, you can't just organize on the fly. Well, you can, but it's going to be shit. I mean, you gotta have stuff in place. You gotta have stuff ready to go. The Democrats are doing it. They're totally organized. They're totally moving and shaking. They're getting shit done right now. Right now, right this second. Let me tell you something. If you were a Democrat and you called up the local Democratic Party headquarters in your county, I guarantee you said, "Hey, I want to sign up to volunteer to drive people to the polls." They would have said, "Hey, man, thanks. What's your name? Give us your address, and we'll find people close to you that you can get to the polls." It would have been done. There would have been no hesitation. They would have said, "Man, you're really cool. If you want, you come down. Why don't you meet us and you can hang with us for a second? Blah blah blah. You can meet the organizational staff." I mean, let me tell you something. In 2016, they sent Nye County, where I live up here in Pahrump, the Clinton campaign sent somebody up here, and they sent this young kid from New Jersey, all the way from New Jersey, right? He's out in the desert in the summertime in Pahrump. Okay, he's like 110. This poor kid was dying. Okay, but this kid was a go-getter. Okay, let me tell you something. This little town,
Mhm.
37,000 people, he got the Barack Obama's Secretary of Labor, who is now the head of the DNC. What's his name? Lopez. That guy. It's not Lopez. It's whatever the hell his name is. Well, he got him up here,
Perez?
right? And then he also got,
Yeah.
check this out. He got Bill Clinton up here. In fact, he comes down to my office and he goes, hey, do you want to see Bill? And I'm like, Bill who? And he looks at me like,
Uh,
Bill Clinton. I go, you got Bill Clinton to come up to Pahrump?
yeah.
And he goes, yeah. And he had
Yeah.
him at the school. And let me tell you something. This is a huge Republican town, but we've never had a president come up here. So I mean, we all went. I mean, most of the people in the audience were Republicans. We were just happy we got to meet a president in a small,
Yeah.
like middle school gymnasium. So I mean, it was real
Mhm.
close, and you got to shake his hand. I shook his hand. I don't give a shit. I mean, he was the president of
Uh,
the United States. At the time there was only 44
yeah.
of them. I mean, and there's only a few
Mhm.
alive. So I mean, most of the people that went
Yeah.
there were actually. It was funny because I told him afterwards. I go, "You realize most people who went there were Republicans?" He goes, "Yeah, I kind of saw that."
Mhm.
he goes,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
goes, I was really happy. Everybody was like clapping and stuff. I said, "Oh yeah, we're not going to be rude. The president, we've never had a president of the United States in our town. We don't live in Miami or Fort
Yeah.
Lauderdale or Houston or anything. We live in Pahrump. We don't, not even Las Vegas. So we were all stoked. I mean, again, probably 80% of the people who went out there were Republicans."
Yeah.
And
Oh
I
yeah.
mean Trump supported Republicans. I don't mean just like rhino. No, there's no
Yeah.
rhinos in this town. I mean Trump diehard Republicans, and they were all like, "Hey,
Mhm.
Bill." So, but I mean,
Yeah.
the point about that is, the Clinton campaign, like the Democrats, I mean, they were in little towns like mine, 37,000 people,
Yeah.
and they sent a full staff
Yeah.
up here, and this guy had Bill Clinton fly into Vegas and drive up here. I mean, gee, that's an hour.
Yeah.
With a motorcade. That's probably a good hour and a half drive each way, and then bring a security team in ahead of
Yeah.
time and all that shit. And they were doing
Mhm.
that. So I mean, they had a ground
Mhm.
game, and I guarantee you they're gonna have a better ground game now. The only reason why she didn't win because
Yeah.
one, Trump was a really good candidate, and two, she was a really bad candidate. But I mean,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they had organization. But if you just ran into the same thing I ran into up here. I mean, I was giving them free
Yeah.
shit, and they didn't want it. You're giving them
Yeah.
like, hey, I'll drive people
Yeah.
around. You don't have to give me any money for gas. I'm there. And they said, oh well, we really don't
Yeah.
do that. I don't know, man. If I was
Yeah.
you,
And I was.
go.
I.
That's crazy.
I was. I was. And it makes me like because I was going to attend one of their meetings, right? And I was supposed to be like this month or next month, and I'm like, if this is what these people do, get behind the computer, send out emails, get people to vote, I could do that at home, you know? I
Right.
could do that at home. But I'm like, the thing, see, the one thing I wish that a lot of the, okay, like, um, Lucas brings up some good points, right? He does. But my question to him, and people with a large following like him, would be, okay, you make these comments, but why don't you tell us, you know, I mean, yeah, obviously we got to do our own research, right? But why don't you tell your followers to do something, to get out and do something, like to join because believe it or not, there are Trump meetups. I mean, I've heard of people who, where they get together and they're not as big as the DNC get-togethers, obviously, but
Right.
I have heard of places where they, people get together and they talk about the things that they'd like to discuss in local town meetings, and I mean, it's like I mean, if I have to, I'd probably drive 20, 25 miles out of town to attend one if I could find one. You
Yeah,
know,
right. I
I
mean, and
mean,
you're calling up. Hey, is there any rallies going on? Anything going on? Only thing I tell you next thing they do, unfortunately, and this is sad, is probably called the state Republican Party. We have a real bureaucracy, a real staff, real people who
mhm.
paid staff, not just volunteers that actually can get shit done. And then after that, if you run into a jam, I just call DeSantis's office and say, hey, you know anything that's going on? 'Cause I guarantee you,
Yeah.
if there's anything going on in his state, he's going to know about it. So, and then
Oh yeah.
maybe his staff will know something. But yeah, that's crazy. I mean, but no, it just happened to me like 6 weeks ago. Same thing, same fucking thing.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean,
offering them
you
free
know,
stuff,
and
or
and
and they don't
mhm.
want it. Oh, we got this. We'll take it from here. It's like, okay,
Yeah. Well, there's still a couple of options that I'm going to look at. I mean, like there's like a there's like a what is it, the Order of the Moose, I think. A lot of them have veterans. I was actually gonna, maybe go down there, check it out.
Right.
But I tell you what, it's, I mean, and see that's the other thing too. It's like these big new conservative YouTubers. It's like all they talk about is what's going on. Why don't they talk about what can be done? What can we do? I mean, yeah,
Right.
okay, we got our rallies. I understand. It's not like we're not doing anything. I'm not trying to make it out like we're not doing anything. We are. But the thing is that, in order for us to even have a chance to compete with the left, because we have to beat them at their own game,
Right.
is if
Right.
Trump gets 4 more years in office, which,
Right.
I'm fairly confident he will, but the people can't stay home. People
No.
cannot stay home. I know I said this before, but I got, when I got my 4 or 5 friends to the polls, I had to run, I probably did about 30, 35, 40 miles, just getting people, getting them to the polls,
Right.
And, I mean, I said, look, I don't need the gas money. Just please go vote, and I was like begging them. I mean, I shouldn't have had to beg them, but I'm like, if those 3 or 4 votes can swing in the favor of a candidate you want to see get elected, you got to do what you got to do.
Right.
I mean, it's it's like me, right? I like when even though I don't have a lot of time to do a lot of I don't I work a lot, I work long hours, but here are the things I do. I donate to Judicial Watch. When they send out their flyers,
Right.
I fill them out. I send them back. Donate to the NRA. I donate where I can to help. You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
it's what I know I can do. But when even people like me who have very little time to do anything can find some way to get involved and do something. I
Right.
mean, it's I wish I had more time to do to get out there and volunteer. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but see, like volunteering, working to the polls and stuff, it wouldn't be as effective as volunteering my services to drive people to the polls. But I guess you got to kind of help out where you can and not, I don't know, Carl. It's like I'm not. Because this is some of the things that conservative Mexican talks about, and he's right. He's right. I mean, I haven't really followed him lately, but I remember back in the day when he talked about the GOP in California, and how they're not really advocating for Trump's wall, and it's just similar things like that. I get his frustration,
Yeah.
and it drains you. It does, but we can't let it beat us. I mean,
No, we can't. We can't
sometimes
get.
it's like,
We can't get complacent. That's for sure.
yeah.
You know,
I mean, I think.
and again, this is August. I mean, the official start of the campaign was always like the day after Labor Day, right? Or Labor Day
Yeah.
weekend. That was like your big campaign thing. All the candidates went out, and the day after Labor Day is when the campaign officially started, right? Well, that's a month from now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean that's like 4 weeks from now.
Oh,
That's like right around the fucking corner.
yeah.
Okay, I mean, and 4 weeks goes by
Yeah.
really fast, especially when you're trying to get something done. 4 weeks goes by like it wasn't here. I mean, like you look up and it's 4 weeks later.
Yeah.
I mean, shit. 4 weeks ago it was July 4th. Okay, we were goofing off on July 4th. That was 4 weeks ago. That's like yesterday. Okay, so I mean,
Yeah.
if somebody better get going here. I mean, I don't know what to say, but
Well,
Effie put the governor's phone number down there, and I posted it up on the screen. Governor DeSantis
oh,
number
okay.
850-717-9337.
Oh, okay. I'll have to. I don't have my laptop on me. I'll have to go back in and check it out. But it's like people. I mean, like I said, we're getting better, and I'm not trying to say that we're hopeless. It's just it's like when Brian Straka has his rallies, yeah, he's talking about things, and it's good. It's good that he's doing that. It's good that rallies are able to get people up and go and discuss. I mean, people meet, people make connections. You know what I'm saying? So in a way, those rallies, I can't say that I agree with Lucas on on all of his talking points. Like you said,
Right.
well, we're the rally, we're going to your rallies, because people are doing things. People are, we're kind of in the infancy of getting organized. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
It's
we
where the
we well
DNC's been doing
well
it for
well well
years.
we better go from infancy to crawling to walking to like we're running at a full pace, because this again
Yes.
a month from now is Labor Day, and then all this thing starts moving. February's coming right up. I mean, the Democrats have another debate in September. They're going to catch a lot of good press on that from the mainstream media. There's going to be a lot of buzz about it. You're going to start whittling down the candidates because they're going to 2% to make the cut, and
Yep.
now I think it's 130,000 donors. So you're not going to have 20 up there. You're only going to have 10. It's going to get narrowed down some more. They'll
Yep.
probably do another debate,
Mm-hmm.
probably like October, beginning of November, and then it'll be whittled down some more.
Yep.
And we're going to start getting serious. And now Biden is screwing himself up left way and sideways, but there is no alternative. And then if you listen to H.A. Goodman, he says that's because Hillary Clinton's getting in. He says that every show. It's kind of a meme almost at this point. But I mean, well,
Mm-hmm.
you listen to H.A., right? H.A. Goodman.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean every
Well,
show,
I don't know.
every show he says Hillary Clinton's running. So
Do you think she is? Because I haven't
no,
really.
no,
I mean,
I don't. But
I'm.
but he, let me tell you something. He is convinced. And he's saying there's no way because the Democrats don't have anybody, and Biden is kind of going down in flames. Look, sooner or later, let me tell you something. When this race does
Mm-hmm.
tighten up, and these candidates like Sanders and Warren, and maybe even if Harris is up there or Buttigieg catches fire, they're not just going to let Biden walk around and be dementia without saying something. I mean, they're gonna confront it head on. They're gonna say,
Mm-hmm.
"Look, I think this guy's got dementia. I want to see this guy. I want this guy to have an independent medical exam. I want to see his medical records." They're gonna start going after him because they're gonna say, "Hey, look, we're not just gonna crown this guy the nominee and walk away." I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Sanders and Warren, this is their last hurrah. I mean, they're going to be Sanders going to be over
Yeah.
80, 81 years old in 2024. He ain't running then, and Warren, she's only getting
No.
older, and Harris wants to
Yeah.
win now, and unless
Yeah.
she's planning on
She's
Biden gets
not
a
gonna.
not. Well, unless
Mm-hmm.
she's planning on Biden gets a nomination, she gets a VP slot, and then he dies, or she does a 25th Amendment on him and kicks him out of office herself, and does something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, I mean, mm-hmm. I, you know, I'm willing to bet. And you're right. We have to go from infancy to crawling to walking to running.
Right now, like by
Even if
Labor Day, we
Trump,
better be running
yes,
at a full pace. By that's it.
yeah, 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 because it's like, I mean, the Republicans have their meetings. Yeah, I get it. But what are they? But it's like, what are they talking about in their meetings? Are they talking about stuff going on the local level? Are they talking about stuff going on a county area? In a county, not so much in town, but like in a county-wide area. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
it's like, who do they know? Who do they answer to? Who do they? What are they part of a super PAC? Are they sponsored by a super PAC? You know, and but I was thinking about going down to their headquarters tomorrow. And ask the same question, but worded a different way. I mean, I called last time, so obviously if I go down there, they're not going to know who I am. But you know, well, no, I mean, because I'm not going to give up. I'm not. I can't. We can't do that because
Right.
then the left wins if we give up. We can't do that. So it's like you know I got to find some way to see about getting volunteering my services to try and get people down to the polls. I mean, if I have to learn another section of town, I got to do it. And I'll do it. I'll take a whole day to do it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's we can't. Call for the longest time. For the longest time, I used to be one of those people that I don't care about politics. I'm not going to get. I'm not going to vote. Why do I kick myself now for being that way? I do. I kick myself for that. And it's like how could I have been so dumb? All these years.
Well, no. Well,
But
it's
but
okay.
but
It's okay if you wake up, then it's okay. That
mhm.
don't you can't look back, man. I mean, fuck that. I mean, shit.
Yeah.
We got too much to do
Mhm.
today and tomorrow and the day after to be worrying about what we didn't do yesterday. I mean,
Yep.
you're hustling right now. I mean, hell, you're making phone calls and saying, "Hey, man, I want to volunteer my time," and then people saying, "Well, that sounds nice, but
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
it's like up here, like like our Chamber of Commerce, which sucks, by the way, and
Mhm.
they don't want to do July 4th because it was only going to be one day, right? Because it was during the week. It was on a
Mhm.
Thursday, right? So I called the lady. I
Yeah.
said, "Well, are we doing anything?" And she goes, "Well, from what I hear, it's like really hot and it's a lot of work." And I'm like, "It's really hot." I go, we live in the desert. Yes, it's hot every July 4th. Okay, where are you from?
Yep.
It's like, what do you mean it's really hot and it's a lot of work? It's like, yeah, no shit. We're Americans. We work hard. Okay, and the idea that it's hot
Yep.
when you live in the desert, it's like, oh, it's Phoenix. It's like, oh, I live in Phoenix, but it's going to be hot, so we're not going to do anything. Like, oh, we're going to stay inside till December. It's like, what are you people idiots? But I mean, so like you're running into that with
Yep.
the Republicans. I ran into the Republican Party up here, and you run into a local Republican
Mhm.
Party. But I mean, the local grassroots. They always say, "Oh, we need a grassroots movement." Well, that starts at the local county, political party level, and then it builds up to the state. The
Mhm.
state can't coordinate local counties. I mean, how many counties you have in Florida? 40. I mean, the state can't manage all
Yeah.
that. Each of these counties has to be managing that on their own and then report up to the state. The state can't manage. We go in
Yeah.
and manage 40 counties. They don't have the manpower for that. Nor would it make any sense
Yeah.
because they don't know the county, they don't know the towns, they don't know the people. They bring somebody in from the
Mhm.
main headquarters, like say out of Miami or something. What are they going to know about where you live? They're not going to know anything. They don't have to GPS everything
Yep.
to get around. So I mean, they better wake up,
Yep.
really quick. That's all I'm saying.
Yep.
So
I think, I think the enthusiasm's there, you know what I'm saying? But it's got
hmm
to be directed in a positive way. They need, it's like, it's like when you see some of these different people, all right, let's stop and think for 1 second. What probably goes on at a Trump rally? Well, you probably got a bunch of people who are on Twitter, have a bunch of followers. They may, some of these people may talk about the Twitter pages, and
right,
then they might make connections, and the ones that are actually doing something with the connections they make are the ones, trying to get the word out, because one thing I've noticed that we've gotten better at, because I don't focus all on the doom and gloom like some of these other YouTubers do, you know, um, but I think we're getting better at getting bolder at trying to educate people about the dangers of socialism and open borders, and
right,
I think, like I said, and like we've talked about before, I think things are turning around, but how they stay depends on people like us. You know, it's we have to still, get the message out. We still have to try and, explain to people, try to get through to people, at least those who are willing to listen,
right.
um, about, about the benefits of a free market society. You know, I mean, you can have any liberal who's serious about. Okay, I'll just throw this out there. Let's say any liberal who's serious about helping illegal immigrants, right? Um, why don't they start a GoFundMe? And why don't they raise money? Look, this is what my cause is for. This is what I want to use the money for. These are my sources. You can verify them. You know what I mean? Kind of like what
Right.
Brian Colfars did with his GoFundMe. Um, and but you don't see them doing that. I mean, if there are, I don't know of any. Like when I talked about the Simon Hody family a while back, I said, look, I respect this family because they put their money where their mouth is. They're learning a hard lesson. They're learning a very hard lesson about their own ideology. But, I give credit where credit is due. They put their money where their mouth is, and, they you know, but how many of these progressives are actually doing that? I don't see a whole lot of them doing it. You know, I mean, that they just want free, 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 and that ain't how society works. You
Well,
know,
hey,
I
again
mean,
with the
it's
great. Hold on, again, Mr. Dirtbag with the great Sedgway. So always with the great Sedgway. I totally appreciate it. No, stay on the line
oh,
because I
sorry,
tell you what. No, great.
huh?
No, a great Sedgway means you just walk right into the next article that I have up on the screen right now, talking about socialists and
Huh?
stuff like that. Look at your screen. Look at the title. Nancy Pelosi's
Oh,
Guatemala trip, a
huh?
socialist love affair. Okay, thank you. So anyway, well, stay on the phone. We're gonna cover. I'm gonna read through this
Huh?
story. You're not gonna be able to see it. You have the delay because you're not on the video call. You're on the phone, so
Yeah.
you're gonna be
Well, I don't
delayed.
have
But
my laptop on me.
that
Yeah.
no, no, that's
Mhm.
okay. So I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read through the story. Then we'll come back and talk about it. So okay, so here we
Okay.
go. So let's get back over to here. Boom, boom, boom. All right. All right. Nancy
Oh,
Pelosi's
Carl,
Guatemala.
real quick, I just want.
Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I would love for I would encourage the chat. Hey, come on, guys, call in and talk to Carl. He's a great guy, and the guy's a wealth of knowledge. You don't find too many people like Carl and Derek Grayson who are willing to share their knowledge with us for free. I would love to see Jervis, Solix call in. I love to see Forbidden call in. I know Charity calls in sometimes.
Yeah, actually,
Um, you know.
Solix called in a couple of different nights. I'm not sure
Oh,
if you.
okay. Well, my
Yeah,
bad. I'm
so,
sorry.
yeah. In fact,
Huh?
Solix he sent me his mailing address, so I'm mailing him out a Carl's Opinion YouTube channel camouflage hat. And
Uh-huh.
you're definitely owed a hat. So if you want to send me like even a PO box is fine. I'll mail you out a hat. I got to mail Effie a hat, and then
Okay.
everybody that was on that panel that night gets a hat too. I haven't got anybody's addresses. I guess everybody's paranoid. I'm going to turn you over to the FBI or something. So, but anyway, but I got a bunch of hats here. So if you appear on the panel or you call in, you get a free Carl's Opinion YouTube hat. So I'm sending Solix out his
Cool.
hat on Monday. Be mailing it out to him, and then if you want a hat, just email me your a mailing address. PO box again is fine because I use the post office. I use the priority mail from the post office. Like if it ships, it fits, kind of thing. If it fits, it ships. Whatever that saying is.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, so no problem. But
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
hey, no, thanks for that shout out. I totally appreciate it. But anyway, let's jump onto the story here.
Oh,
Nancy Pelosi's
okay.
Guatemala trip, a socialist love affair. Democrats back candidate to undermine Trump's. Hold on here. To undermine Trump's asylum agreement. So we'll go right through here. So there's a picture of Nancy Pelosi, and there's our U.S. ambassador, a spy, Luis Orrega. He's a never Trumper, and he's sitting there as ambassador to Guatemala. He's the one who killed the third safe country agreement to begin with. And so there he is walking hand in hand with Nancy Pelosi, which is fitting, I guess. So anyway, so let me jump this story down a little bit here. You can see it better. There we go. So, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi visited Guatemala yesterday and promoted the Socialist Candidate for president ahead of Sunday's election. Oh, let me give a shout out to the. This is by Impunity Observer, aligning U.S. and Latino interests. Okay, this is their website, and it's a really good one. I just found it today, so I definitely want to give a shout out to them. And since I'm using their article, I totally appreciate it. Anyway, so it's called Impunity Observer, and it's called and their main logo is aligning U.S. and Latino interests. And this was written by Stephen Hecht on August 9th. So anyway, here we go. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi visited Guatemala yesterday and promoted the Socialist Candidate for president ahead of Sunday's election in what is set to be a tight contest. Pelosi put her thumb on the scale of Sunday's results. It sounds like foreign election interference to me. Pelosi snubbed conservative President Jimmy Morales, who didn't even bother to go see him. You're in this country. You don't even visit the sitting president, who defeated a socialist candidate in the last election. She met only with socialists opposed to him and to President Donald Trump and his policies. Pelosi and her team of Democrats, which included two of the four squad, supported corrupt authorities attempting to fix Sunday's Guatemalan presidential election. So they favor socialist candidate Sandra Torres, who opposes the asylum agreement reached by Trump and Morales. Pelosi's opposition to new domestic asylum rules shows her desire to flood the country with illegal migrants and portray Trump as an anti-migrant racist in the 2020 campaign. Her defense of asylum is a deception, since almost all those seeking asylum are economic migrants and not fleeing persecution. She did not go to Guatemala to examine the asylum agreement. She already opposes it. U.S. Ambassador Luis Orrega is also undermining Trump. He needs to be replaced immediately. Orrega coordinated Pelosi's meeting with local socialists. Again, she didn't meet with the conservative that's running. Did not meet with the sitting president. They're going down there just to try to endorse, to meddle in a foreign election, a foreign election interference, kind of like what we heard about the Russians and all that bullshit. So they met with Helen Mack of the Minor Mack Foundation, whom they call a human rights activist. George Orwell would smile. Judicial Watch had reported that minor Mac Foundation receives money from George Soros' Open Society Foundations, as well as from U.S. aid. Mac teamed up with the UN International Commission Against Impunity in Guatemala to accuse defense attorneys of corruption for representing defendants accused by the commission. Guatemala's Bar Association, in fact, issued an immediate condemnation of the attack on the constitutional right to defense. Photographs show Pelosi with leftist judges. Is a photo here. As she promoted the socialist agenda in Guatemala, Pelosi described the visit in a tweet as bipartisan bullshit, but her entire delegation were Democrats. It was only bipartisan if one thinks there's a difference between Democrats and socialists. That's it. So anyway, so there
I
you
would,
go. Go ahead.
yeah, I would. I would like to see the Mercers and Bannon start something in South America to counter the Open Society's influence. I mean, they did it in Europe with the movement. I mean, maybe they will. I don't know. I hope they do. I pray to God that the Mercers do something about Open Society in South America. But
Yeah, wait, hold on. Yeah,
they're just kind of one.
the name of the guy, the center right former doctor, and one-time national prisons director, Alejandro Matetti. She didn't meet with him, and she just met with the socialists. So basically, they went down there to do an endorsement of the socialists to interfere in their election. So they want her to win,
Oh, yeah.
so they get rid of the asylum deal, the safe third country agreement that we have, so more migrants will have to come to the United States. It's a big joke, like she is.
Yeah. Yeah, because if that conservative wins, he will honor the agreement that
Oh, definitely.
that the current president made.
Yep, he sure will.
He wants economic stability for his people.
Well, yeah, not to mention,
And,
of course, look, everybody knows we're going to be writing these people a check, okay, but we're just going to make sure it doesn't go through corrupt people. Okay, so I mean, everybody knows we're going to send foreign aid down there. We're going to help these people out. We got all kinds of deals going on with them. That's one big thing that McClellan, who we didn't like because he dimed out the ICE raid, 2 months ago. But McClellan's big thing was, and I did a show on this. McClellan's big thing was he really wants to work down with the Central American countries to make them a better place so that these people don't leave. That's his strategy. So the reason why Trump didn't fire him was because he went to McClellan and said, look, I know it was you that leaked it. I know you don't like these ICE raids on these people that are here already. You got this big pitch going on. You say you can go down to these Central American countries, make a difference, help them out, get rid of the corruption, and there'll be less people coming here. And he goes, okay, here's the deal. Go down and do it. Well, McClellan delivered. McClellan delivered on two different things. He delivered on Guatemala, where they signed the Safe Third Country Agreement. That was all McClellan. McClellan was there for the signing. Trump brought him in and let him stand there for that. Think about that for a second. I think he's the one who actually executed it. And McClellan also made that deal with El Salvador, and that El Salvadorian president wrote that nice tweet about the president saying, hey, don't blame the United States for our two people drowning in the Rio Grande, that father and his daughter. Blame us because they were fleeing our country. We got to fix it. Well, then the next thing you know, here comes Mike Pompeo making an unscheduled trip over to El Salvador, meeting with him. They're all smiles and everything. So McClellan is delivering on this. But you're right, though. If that socialist gets elected, she's going to rip that deal up in 2 seconds. Okay, but she doesn't care about whatever aid we're going to give them. She's good friends with, Cuba and Venezuela. In fact, her husband, when he was president, gave Fidel Castro some kind of honorary title or some shit or something, honorary award or something. So she wants to make deals with Venezuela and also make deals with Cuba. She doesn't want to do anything with us. So yeah, and there's Pelosi down there supporting her against the president of the United States and his decisions. I'm sure. I mean that's that's treason. I'll call it what it is. That's treason. Right there on the spot, and it's foreign election interference. She's we can't have the Russians interfere in our elections. Well, what's she doing down in Guatemala? She's interfering in their elections. She's putting her thumb on the scale down there. That's what she's doing. That's more than a couple of Facebook ads. She's down there with a big press corps, and meeting with people and taking pictures are going to be in the newspaper. That's a hell of a lot more effective than a few Facebook ads the Russians put up. I mean, bullshit.
Yeah. I'm just, because I just hope that, I'm not saying that they would or wouldn't, I don't know, but if anybody would start some kind of a group to oppose the Open Society, it would be the Mercers. Like I was saying, explaining about Europe and how the Bannon went down there to start the movement. And I haven't really seen anything more on it. I know Bannon's sitting on one of Cofage's board members, which is a good thing because Bannon knows how to get things done. But I haven't really read anything about like if there's going to be any kind of group to oppose the Open Society Foundation down there. Because, like I said, if you stop and think about it, Mueller investigates everybody who's connected to Trump, right? Obviously,
Right.
the Mercers are connected to Trump. Mueller didn't even. I don't even know Mueller even mentioned the Mercers in his report, which tells me the Mercers, whatever Trump and the Mercers are doing, they're in control. But that control can go left real quick, very, very quick. You know,
Right.
because obviously, if they haven't been able to bring down the Mercers or they haven't been able to bring down Trump, or Bannon or any of their affiliates, that tells me that they've got some level of control with powerful people on their side, that can counter Soros's influence, within the government. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's
I know. I
I
know
don't know if
exactly
I'm
what you're saying.
explaining it.
No, I know. No, I know
Yeah.
exactly. In other words, look, and that's what they were doing in Serbia, and that's what they were trying to do in Hungary, and like there wasn't anybody going against
Yep.
them. There wasn't anybody else with money, down there. So like it sounds like what's going on down in Central America. There's nobody else like from like, the Republican side, the Trump side, the right side down there competing with, George Soros and his money and his leftist money.
Yeah.
He's kind of running the tables down there. That's what it sounds like to me, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. But I just, but anybody who, and like I've always said, people who don't know who the Mercers are, conservatives would do well to educate themselves on who the Mercers are, because, like I said, they're everything I've seen on them and what they've done, like the PACs they back, they're
Right.
really the only thing standing in the way of these globalists. Trump and the Mercers are really the only thing that are standing in the way of what these globalists are trying to do.
Right.
Like I said, and I said it many times before, I don't know what the Mercers want, but I'll back the Mercers before I back the likes of Soros, because at least the Mercers message kind of resonates with what I want to see: free markets, borders, no socialism, and that seems to be what they're opposed to,
Right.
because I'll tell you something, Carl, the Mercers, they're very, I mean, you have to kind of follow where the money goes. When you research people like this, you got to follow where they donate their money. The Reclaim New York Super PAC, they back that. The job creations, the people who put up the billboards blasting AOC, the Mercers back that political PAC, So that tells me the Mercers have, I don't know what their net worth is. I never, but obviously they must have enough money to be able to counter what these. I mean, the combined might of the Koch brothers and Soros and Zuckerberg and all them. I mean, that tells you the Mercers are very, very, very organized in what they're doing. But like I said, they can't do it alone. We gotta do our part with what we're capable of doing. I mean, we can't expect Trump ain't gonna be in office forever. And the time that he's buying us to try and at least get people to see the dangers of socialism and open borders and and all this ideology that the left champions, we're on borrowed time. We're on very borrowed time,
Right.
and I just don't know. I mean, we have a plan of action. We just have to get people who can do it. We just have to. I mean,
Right.
like I said, I'm still learning. I'm still learning. What happened in certain times. For being honest, I've kind of focused more on my research on what's going on today rather than what happened in the past. You know what I'm saying? But I
Right.
know sometimes you got to understand the past in order to, get the, to understand the future. You know, but you look at some of the things that have been done on a local level. Because that's where it starts. It starts in the local area. It starts in your area. I mean, there's some. One other option that I thought about doing was my neighborhood does a meeting at a local church. surely that's got to have some kind of political meaning in whatever they do. You know, like even whether it's a homeowners association discussion or if it's some kind of you know, something. It's a start. You know, it's
Right.
a start somewhere. You know, I mean, I don't. You know, I mean, you can't just throw out all options. You got to do. You know, there's things out there. You just got to find it. You know, and you can't get discouraged with the Google algorithms. You know, use
No.
DuckDuckGo to find out what you want to find. You know, I mean, I just don't know, Carl. I mean, I don't know. Do you got any suggestions or anything? I mean. You
No,
know,
I
Carl,
mean,
because
no,
I
no.
come
Look,
to
no,
you
look,
seeking
look. Okay,
wisdom all
look,
the time.
okay, look. No, no. Look. What we're doing is good. Okay, look. The platforms we're on are run by a bunch of left people. Okay, a bunch of leftists. All the
Mhm.
platforms we're on, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, whether it's YouTube, whether it's whatever. Okay,
Mhm.
Google, etc.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's DuckDuckGo out there, and there's BitChute, and there's Minds. But none of those sites have any real following. None of those sites have any real attention paid to them. Nobody's like over there
Mhm.
saying, "Oh, I'm going to go." No, nobody's like waking up in the morning saying, "Oh, I'm going to go get on BitChute." All the big content providers, we
Yeah.
talked about this on YouTube. Yeah, they have a BitChute presence, but as long as they have a YouTube presence, nobody's going over to BitChute to watch their content. Okay, nobody's going. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna wake up and go to BitChute this morning. Nobody's on YouTube. Now, the big
Yeah.
content creators, they all go over to BitChute, and then everybody goes with them. True. Well, I mean, look, even President Trump, as he left Twitter, no, he hasn't.
Mhm.
Right now, you talked about that
I,
Parlor thing,
mhm.
right? You said Parlor's kind of like a Twitter kind of thing, right? Is that what you
Yeah.
said?
Parlor. Yeah.
Well,
I'm going pretty
say
quickly on
well
Parlor.
well well say Trump says, okay, I'm gonna leave Twitter and go over to Parlor. Okay, and
Mhm.
I'm not gonna have two presidences. I'm just gonna have one. My presence is gonna be on Parlor. I'm not on Twitter anymore. Goodbye.
Yeah.
And then would his
Mhm.
53 million people follow him? Yes, of course. Would people go over to Parlor? Yeah, Parlor would then explode. And then, of course, Twitter would then buy them out and turn
Yeah.
into Twitter. But anyway, so, but I mean, but still, I mean,
Yeah.
until people say I'm going to have one presence, it's not on YouTube, it's on BitChute, or it's on Minds, or it's on
Mhm.
wherever, people are never going to leave
Mhm.
YouTube, and we have to deal with this platform, and that's just the way it
Yeah.
is. So,
I think you know what's funny because I told you some of my one-liners got downvoted over there, right? And I'm like, okay, this either has to be one of two things.
what,
Either
wait,
somebody that
On Parlor or
no Parlor.
oh,
Yeah, I'm on Parlor. Yeah.
got downvoted on Parlor. Okay.
Yeah, got downvoted on Parler, right? Now, it's either one of two things. Either somebody just didn't like the comment, or left-wing trolls are already infiltrating Parler, and, because most of the time conservatives, give me a thumbs up on my one-liners. You know what I mean? People who understand the context in which I create the one-liners, you know. Sometimes I get people who say, "Oh, I don't get it." Well, 75 or 1,000 people got it. You know, you know what I mean? And but I mean that's all besides the point. So like Laura Loomer's on Parlor, David Clark is on Parlor. I don't know, and I think one of the reasons why BitChute got big is because Alex Jones is over there. You know, he's on Parlor,
Uh huh.
and I'm not Parlor. I'm sorry, BitChute, and I think that's one of the reasons why BitChute kind of came more into the mainstream because he has a platform over there. But
Right.
the thing that we have to, and it can happen, like you were saying, it gets big, and then Twitter, well, we're going to buy it out, and that really tests the individual who claims to be a conservative. Does he or she say, no, it's not for sale, and content with where I'm at? Or do they say, well, I'm going to sell it and, forget about it? But see, then you're back to square one because then somebody else will create a conservative site like that, and then they'll go, unless somebody stands on principle, and says, look, I'm not going to sell, content where it's at, and I'm making good enough money to where I'm happy with the money I make. I don't need more. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it would be literally a never-ending cycle because you're going to cover every name in the alphabet that you name your conservative site, and where does that leave us? We go there because believe it or not, I don't like the fact that we can't be on Twitter like the liberals can, but we still have to have that open forum to where, say, like people who want to come over and learn about, what other ideas, and they have to have a place to go and learn about those ideas. I mean, I don't really like having the divide like that, but in order to get a point out, sometimes it has to be that way. You know, I
Right.
mean, sometimes you have to go. I mean, again, I'm not trying to talk about divide and divide and conquer anything. It's just what other options do you have left if you can't get your message out on one platform, but you're able to do it on another. Well, you want to keep that platform open so
Well,
people can have the option.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, remember, well, you're younger than I am, but okay, Ronald Reagan, when he had to pass those tax cuts in the early '80s,
Mm-hmm.
'82, I think when he passed them,
Uh,
81, '82,
uh,
and what he did
uh,
the Democrats controlled both the House and the Senate. Okay, so he had to get these tax
mm-hmm.
cuts through, which were very controversial, and the Democrats didn't want any part of
Mm-hmm.
it. Okay, now this is before cell phones, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. Okay, what he did is when he went on
Mm-hmm.
TV, he asked everybody to send a Western Union telegram to their congressmen and to their senators to mail them letters, and
Mm-hmm.
people did. Now, people organized back
Mm-hmm.
in the '80s. I was part of it. I know. And it was, again, we didn't have cell
Mm-hmm.
phones. I mean, you got to stop at a payphone or call from home or wait till you got home or whatever, okay, to call. But yet, people went to meetings. We organized. Now, maybe part of it is this cell phone, social media kind of bullshit where people don't know how to get together in a
Mm-hmm.
room anymore. Or like when you say, hey, I'll drive somebody, they're
Yeah.
saying, well, go online or some shit. It's like, well, wait, fuck online. I'm right here on the phone with you. You're on the phone with me. I can go down to the office. I don't need to go online. But right away, everybody's default position is,
Yeah.
oh, go to your Facebook page, go to this, go to that.
Yeah.
Go to this candidate's Facebook page and comment there, or contact us through Facebook, or some bullshit. Anytime I have to contact somebody, they say, oh, contact us on your Facebook, like another YouTuber. They say, oh, contact me on Facebook or
Mm-hmm.
Twitter, or like send me a message there. I'm like, fuck you. Put your fucking email address up
Yeah.
at a minimum, and then I'll contact you. Otherwise, I can contact you on Facebook or Twitter or something stupid. Okay. So, but I mean, that's everybody's default
Yeah.
position now. Oh, you know what? Just send me a text, or a text is even better than that. At least you get it on your phone. But like, go to social media. It's like, no. Well, how the hell did we do this in the '80s? I mean, especially like the Reagan
Yeah.
campaign in 1980. Well, other than he cheated because Stefan Halper got him Jimmy Carter's debate preparation materials. But anyway, other than that, though, Carter was still an incumbent. There was the Iranian hostage crisis. He just defeated Ted Kennedy in the primaries, and it was a chance that Carter was going to win that election, and Reagan was able to get people organized, and the local parties would get people organized and get them out to the polls. And this is all back in 1980, before you had any of this, and people
Yeah.
were able to do it, and it got
Uh,
done. So
yeah.
we need to kind
Yeah.
of go back to our roots and maybe not rely on social media so much and not rely on the cell phone so much and just go out and meet people, talk to people, and get and have these
Yeah.
meetings. Hey, let's have a meeting this week.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do a meeting. Let's send out letters, or well, I mean that shit. Now you can send out emails and shit to people, or text message people and say, hey, let's have a meeting this week at this find a location, somebody's house. Who cares? Whatever. Go to a hotel and
Yeah.
see if you can rent like a small little room or something, like a mini convention
Yeah.
area size room, anything. I mean, that's how they did it back in the '80s. That's how they did it back in the '90s. And it got
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
So maybe we just need to do the same thing again. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and see, that's where sometimes these rallies, like I know, I could tell Lucas was venting when he said a lot of this, but he also hit home with a lot of good points, And again, that's where some of these rallies come into play, because people meet, they talk to each other, people do, because most of the time people are on social media anymore because social media is the new town hall now.
Right.
People, like whenever somebody goes live, kind of like how you're doing now, right? People gather into the chat, they talk to each other, and then that content creator talks about certain things like, well, this is my opinion on this is my opinion on that. But what they need to start doing is talking about how they can make a change and talking about what we need to do to make that change. And I don't see really a lot of them doing that.
No, they're just
I mean,
commenting on that. Right, just commenting on stuff. I mean, maybe I'm guilty of it myself. As far as how do
Oh
we
no, I didn't
change?
mean you, Carl.
No, 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 no. I'm saying
I didn't
maybe I'm
mean.
guilty. Maybe I'm guilty of that myself. Maybe it's like maybe I'm not organizing people. Maybe that's maybe that's something I should be doing. You know, I mean, I know pretty much
Mhm.
everybody who is somebody in my town. I lived there for 16 years. It's a small town.
Mhm.
I guarantee you, I know a whole bunch of
Yeah.
people. Okay, so I
Mhm.
probably represented a whole bunch of people also. So I mean,
Mhm.
as far as me being able to, I mean, I have phone lists. I can maybe start making some phone calls, call people, say, hey, hey, I'm looking to put something together. Like-minded people, not solicitation calls, but
Yeah.
not like cold calling,
Mhm.
but I mean, people I know and say, hey, I'm looking to put something together here and stuff like that. And then of course
Mhm.
the biggest problem we run into with that is always somebody's ego. It's like, oh, who are you to organize
Mhm.
this? How come we're not doing it? It's like,
Yeah, I can't.
that's always
Yeah.
the fucking
See, that's
problem
what
with
I.
that, though.
Yeah. See, like me, I can't stand the ego. I can't. I hate the ego with a passion because all the ego does when you have a group of people who are trying to work together, claiming they're trying to work together, and all they do is allow their egos to clash because somebody wants to be on top, somebody wants to be, their voice the loudest, and I'm like, this isn't what we do. This isn't how we get there, and it
Right.
and it ticks me off to no end. It's like, why the heck am I supporting this if all you're gonna do is clash with each. I'm just saying anything. Call any kind of. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I've always been kind of a lone wolf and stuff like this. It isn't that I don't like working with people. It's just everybody wants to be their voice heard, and that's not how it's supposed to be done. It's supposed to be we all work together. We support each other. We give each other, the support they need to get their message out. It's not, well, I should be on top and I should, I hate that. I can't stand that to no end. And that's one of the reasons why I wind up walking away from a lot of stuff, you know. And it's like, well, I could be more effective on my own. I don't want to be like that kind of an attitude. But what
Right.
other option is there when you have people who can't see past their own egos? I mean, we have a country we're trying to save, not worrying about how famous you can get. See, that's one of the reasons why I love coming to your show, Carl. That's one of the reasons why I say this, that very few YouTubers have my ear. Very few YouTubers. You have my ear. Derek Grayson has my ear. Amazing Lucas, ABL. Just one of the, just those are just some of the few that have my ear because they are doing this to try and make a difference. I mean, like I said, I don't care if somebody has made money. I mean, you help me see that from a different angle. Like people who donate, But when you have people who get on their on their
Oh no,
line,
no,
they're
like
like,
no,
"Well,
no.
oh,
I
please
mean, no.
donate."
Like I super chat all the time. Have you ever seen anybody else's
Yeah,
site?
so do I. Yeah,
Yeah, I do that all the time.
yeah.
You know, I mean, I was
But I
on
mean,
I was on
but
ABL site.
yeah.
I was on O'Shea site today. I was
Mhm.
on Super Sly site tonight. I mean, I was bouncing
Mhm.
around. In fact, one one moderator was bouncing around kind of with me, and then finally she said, "Gee, you get around," and I'm like, "Hey, I'm like the Beach Boys. I get around, round, round, stuff like that." So,
Yeah.
but no, I don't have
Yeah.
a problem with that. But hey, Effie did ask a question in the chat. You see that headline up there
Uh-huh.
on your phone, about Pete Buttigieg? This is the most. This
No,
is the most.
I can't get on the. I can't get on the
Oh,
internet
okay,
when I'm
okay,
on the
hold on.
phone.
Okay, hold on. I'll read it to you. This is from Pete Buttigieg. This is when he was
Huh?
at Iowa today. And this is the most ignorant statement regarding the Second Amendment. That's Effie's comment that's in there says, who do we blame for the Democrats' inability to comprehend the Second Amendment? I totally agree. Because when you we read her comment in juxtaposition to Pete Buttigieg's comment, this is Pete Buttigieg's comment. He says, if everybody wasn't armed, would police officers be so quick to draw their guns? Well, the whole point of the Second Amendment was to protect us from a government gone wild. Okay, it was to protect us
Yep.
against, the military taking over, from the government using the law enforcement to crack down on your rights and stuff. So, I mean,
Mhm.
it's like, does anybody out there know about the Second Amendment? Like, do they even know that's in the Bill of Rights?
Yeah.
I mean, you say the First Amendment,
Yeah.
freedom of speech, freedom of the press, but they sure know that one. I mean, the second's the next one down. All you gotta do is just, glance down a little bit, and you'll see it. But anytime like one of us says
Yep.
Second Amendment, they think, oh, you crazy, conservatives, regressive people, Second Amendment. Oh, that was written, 230 years ago. What's that got to do with us? Well, no, that's part of the
Yeah.
foundation of this country. It's like the first, if we just
Yep.
get rid of the First Amendment tomorrow, and government says, here's your new religion, Hare Krishna,
Yep.
whatever, right? And
Yep.
everybody, and you tear all the churches down, so you have to practice this religion. Anybody who does anything gets locked up, or no freedom, no
Yep.
freedom of the press. They go and they seize all the press, and they have one government-run press like Pravda back in the old Soviet Union days. I mean, your
Yep.
rights is bad. I mean, rights. Who wrote a good article on that? It was Judge Napolitano from Fox, who I disagree with most of the time on a lot of things, but he wrote a good article on the Second Amendment. He goes, it's kind of like it was like a God-given right to defend yourself. It's not something that's given to you by the state. That right is to protect you from the state. And here's Buttigieg saying, "Oh, we should just disarm
Yep.
people so the cops won't have to draw their guns on us." Well, he didn't say anything about disarming the cops. I mean,
Mhm.
that statement is just so fucking ignorant about the second. And this
Yeah.
guy went to college. Didn't he go to Oxford or some shit? I don't know, but I mean, he went somewhere. His
Yeah.
parents are both, Notre Dame professors. Though his dad was from Malta, probably knows that guy Joseph Misfud. He's probably a spy, probably an
Yeah.
Italian spy. That's who
Uh,
his dad is. That's who Buttigieg's dad is. Probably a spy. Probably. Well, his dad
yeah.
was an editor for like this Marxist newspaper. His dad's like a out and out Marxist, and he grew up in that household surrounded by all these Marxist guys that came over to the house for drinks and shit. And he got to listen to all that stupid
Mhm.
shit. I mean, that's who he is. But I mean,
Yeah.
he's like, oh, you disarm America. I mean, look, they're trying to change America from what it is. I mean, they're just trying to fundamentally change it. They're trying to
Yeah.
tear down all our institutions, all our rights, everything about us, because they think for some reason we're evil, even though they live here and they live a pretty good life here. Everybody complaining about it. Look at all the Democratic candidates; they all have pretty good lives.
Yeah.
I mean, they all got to go to
Yep.
college. They got to go to school. It wasn't just a limited. It wasn't like a system where like only certain people can go to college, only certain people could become lawyers, only certain people could become
Mhm.
doctors. Like you're assigned, okay, you're going to be a factory worker. Well, no, I want to be a doctor. Nope, you're going to be a
Mhm.
factory worker. That's centralized planning.
Yep.
Okay, all these people got to do what they want. They all got nice lives. They wear nice clothes. They got money in their back pocket, and then they're bitching about the system that they've thrived in because it's such an evil system. I mean,
Yep.
everybody up there, Booker,
Mhm.
Harris, everybody. I mean, Castro. I mean, they've all benefited from
Mhm.
the system. Shit, Castro's mom was a freaking immigrant. And he's first generation.
Yeah.
Him and his brother. I mean,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I mean, name another country where his mom could have moved to, and within one
Mhm.
generation, one of them is the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, and the other one's a congressman. Name that country where his mom could have moved to, and him and his brother could have risen to such a high level in government. And one's running for president. There is no other country. He can't point to
Yeah.
another country where his mom could have moved, could have emigrated to,
Mhm.
and then
Yeah.
and one of them would be in Congress, and the other one would be running for president. There is no such place.
Mhm.
There isn't. Okay, I mean,
I
these
thought.
people need to wake up.
Mhm.
I mean, they were both born here because
Yeah.
they're both naturalized citizens. They were born in this country. That's why he can run for president. But I mean, his mother wasn't, and within one
Yeah.
generation, this guy was a freaking cabinet member, and his brother's in Congress. I mean, what
Yeah.
the shit? And then they're bitching about how awful this place is, and for the two of them to say it's a racist country, I mean, hey, wake up, look in the mirror. You're Latino. You're not white, and you guys both speak with like Spanish
Yeah.
accents. Albeit, when they were younger,
Yeah.
they didn't. From what I hear, when they were younger, they didn't have Spanish accents. They just kind of recently adopted that in the last, 6, 7, 8 years. When they got into
Yeah.
politics, then suddenly
Yeah.
they suddenly have a Spanish accent.
Mhm.
But I mean, where else? Name another country where his mother could have moved
Mhm.
and not spoken the language, the native language, and
Mhm.
within one generation, her two sons would be in such positions of power. There is no
Mhm.
other country.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. They would
Mhm.
not let. They would not have let. No other
Yeah.
country would let them get to that position unless it was like maybe 3 or 4 or 5 generations, probably 3 or 4 generations down the line. Not the first generation.
Yeah.
So here's the Castro
Mhm.
brothers yelling about racism in a country where they have succeeded beyond. And I'm not a congressman. I wasn't. I'm a white guy. How come I wasn't a congressman? I'm a white guy. How come I wasn't Secretary of Housing and Urban Development? Where's my privilege? If what they're saying is true, I could have just walked into the, to President Obama's Oval Office and said, "Hey, look, man, I'm a white guy. Get rid of the Mexican. I want his job." And Obama was like, "Well, shit, white privilege. Here you go." And Castro, you're gone. And he's walking out with, crying. This is terrible. Oh my God, I can't believe I just lost my job. Damn white guy, damn gringo. I mean, that doesn't happen. I didn't get to play my privilege card and like take his job. How about I go take the congressman's job and say, hey, yeah, just walk into his district and tell the governor, hey, you got to fire this guy, and I'm a white guy. I'm now the congressman. He said, yeah, sorry, Mr. Castro, but hey, the white guy just walked in. Sorry, you're gone. No, that doesn't happen. Booker, his parents were like Wall Street executives. He went to Yale. Wow, gee, I didn't go to Yale. I mean, how come I didn't get to walk into Yale when he was there and go to the admissions office and say, hey, I'm playing my white privilege card. That black guy's got to go. I got his spot now. They go, sorry, Mr. Booker, white man just played his privilege card. You're out. Sorry, Jogger's got it. See ya. And he walks out crying. Oh, I can't believe this is so terrible. No, that didn't happen. Or how about I go to California and I walk into the Attorney General's office and I say, sorry, Ms. Harris, I'm playing my white privilege card. You're gone. I'm now the Attorney General for the state of California. That wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Oh, we got somebody here. Hold on, let me see who this idiot is.
New person in the chat?
Well, soon to be a gone person in the chat. Let's see. Nope, he's gone.
Is it a troll?
Yep. All right. Hey, way to go there, Mr. Moderators. Way to go.
What's funny,
got rid of them. Yes.
Trolls,
sorry, trolls. You can't get. Wait, hold on. I'm gonna make a speech. Sorry, trolls. You can't get past my wrench wall. The wrench wall is out there. You can't get past. You can maybe show up, but you can't get past.
You know what's funny, Carl, and I will say this because we know these trolls listen to our conversations. We know
of
this,
course,
right?
Of course.
And here's a question that I would like to ask them. Okay, if and let's say like some of these trolls who are among the LGBT community, right, and all that, I guarantee you, once the left or once the radical extremists, you know who I'm talking about, Carl.
Right.
And I'll bet they know who I'm talking about, too. Once the radical extremists get done with the conservatives, guess what? Your protections are gone. Ilhan Omar does not like you. She doesn't care about you. She doesn't even want to be associated with you people. And the only thing standing in your way of these people destroying your lives are the conservative and sane people. That's what I would tell them. And you know what? They're hearing me right now. They're hearing me right now because I guarantee you, once the extremists have gotten their agenda, the left, you guys are gone. You guys aren't going to be part of their plan. You aren't invited to the party. You are useful to them because they need your votes in order to put candidates in who will push legislation to bankrupt our country. And those candidates are the progressive Democrats. And they're hearing me right now saying this. And I'm talking directly to them. But you know what? It's going to go way over their head. They're not going to care. They're going to keep doing what they're doing because they think they're part of la resistance.
Right.
I'm sorry, Carl. I'm not trying to.
No, not at all.
And hey, you hear me being very civil about it. And they're hearing me. They know what we're talking about.
I tell you what. I won't be civil. Fuck them. They're fucking morons. Okay. I agree with you to a point. They're useful idiots. Okay. They're useful idiots. Yeah. They want to destroy this country. It's not going to happen. Sorry, we're not going to let you do it. Okay, 230 years. We built the greatest country in the history of the world. We're the only in the history of the world. Let's see who the beta male you're talking to. Who's the beta male? Okay, hold on. We'll get rid of this guy. Boom. Yay! We got a few coming on here now, man. We're getting rid of them. Good job.
I must have said something. Yeah, we must have said something.
No, good, man. We triggered them. We triggered them. Hey, this is like shooting fish in a barrel, though. This is too easy.
And what I would say to them is, look, guys, We're not telling you this to trigger you. We're telling you this to warn you.
No,
We're not trying to trigger you.
no, I'm telling them to trigger them. I want to trigger them. Fuck them. Okay. Look, I agree with you. They're useful idiots. Okay. Again, we spent 230 years. We're the only country in the world that has been successful at a multicultural country. No other country in the history of this world has ever been successful with a multicultural population. We have done it. We have succeeded in doing it. And it was, oh, we could be better. Tell you what, do a side-by-side comparison with our country to anybody else's. We win on every single metric, okay? You say, oh, we can, the ideal? What ideal? Nobody's achieved the ideal. It's like hitting absolute zero. It doesn't exist, okay? So where we are right now is better than anybody's ever been. So anyway, to the moderators out there, salute, 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 salute. And by the way, just don't time them out.
Wow.
Don't just remove their comment. You see some asshole come on the site, hide user, 86 them, hide user.
Wow.
They get
How many
86.
came in?
Oh no, only 3 or 4.
Well, that's a lot. I mean, for a small platform, I mean, like,
Not really.
that's a lot.
Oh no, you weren't here that one night, man. I'm sorry. You should have seen that night. That was crazy. It was insanity. It was fun. I mean, we were just zapping them. I got the most though. I think I took down like 20 comments myself. Yeah, it was crazy.
Carl, I feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for them because they don't know what they're protesting. And like you said, they're useful idiots. I'm sorry, I'm not. But they don't understand. It's exactly like I said. Once the radical extremists, who I'm talking about,
right?
Get their agenda, and their protections are gone.
Oh wait, okay, hold on. Okay, this is perfect timing for me to play my video, which I'm going to play now. This was done by. Let me get it queued up here. Hold on. Okay, mods, I'm going to be watching this video, so stay on top of it. Any of these guys come in, no timeout, no remove comment, just hide user, hide user. Hit the hide user key, just zap them out forever. Anyway, so I'm going to get ready to play my video. Let's see.
Yeah, because let them see. I mean, let them see. I mean, it just.
Let me pull this off here.
I'm sorry, Carl. I get emotional sometimes.
No, hold on.
How else are they going to learn? I mean, how else are they going to see?
All right. Anyway, Okay, hold on. Here we go. We got a 7-second delay, so I'm going to count to 7. Okay, so don't say anything. All right.
She pleaded for compassion for ISIS recruits attempting to join the terrorist organization. She was looking for compassion.
Representative-elect Ilhan Omar may have already made her first move as an elected official. In a letter signed November 8th, Omar asks a U.S. district judge for compassion when sentencing 9 Minnesota Somali American men convicted of trying to join the terrorist group ISIS.
And she looks down with contempt on the hard-working Americans, saying that ignorance is pervasive in many parts of this country.
Ignorance is very pervasive in this country.
And Tlaib also used the F word to describe the president. And your president. That's not nice. Even for me.
Because we're going to go in there and we're going to impeach the mother. You guys are crazy!
She thinks that people with the same skin color all need to think the same. She said, we don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be brown voices. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. And just this week, can you imagine if I said that?
Because we don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice.
Cortez said that illegal immigrants are more American than any person who seeks to keep them out ever will be. Can you believe that? That's what she's saying.
But the women and children on that border that are trying to seek refuge and seek opportunity in the United States of America with nothing but the shirt on their backs are acting more American than any person who seeks to keep them out ever will be. Yeah, you know, if that's what radical means, call me a radical. Call me a radical. Call me a radical.
All right, we're back on. All right, Mr. Great Dirtbag, we're back on.
Cool. How did it go? Carl?
Yeah, you there? Sorry, you there? Gotcha.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
But hey, too bad you didn't get to watch that. But yeah, when you watch on the rebroadcast later, man, that's it was pretty cool. That was done by in fact, let me put their title up. I don't think I had it up before. Hold on.
I just got home. I'm going to get my laptop. Are you going to be on for a little bit longer?
Yeah. What time is it? 11:30? Might be. Depends if somebody else calls in. If somebody else calls in, then yeah, I might stay on a little bit longer. I got a couple more stories to cover. If I'm not on, I'm not on. If I'm on, I'm on. But yeah, there's the hold on. There's the credit right there. See Donald J. Trump YouTube channel, and there's the link right there. If you want to catch that again, I just posted it up there, so it should be coming up here right. It should already be up. There it is right there. Yeah, Donald J. Trump YouTube channel, and there's the link right there if you want to check it out. But yeah, go to the Donald J. Trump YouTube channel. It's worth watching. I recorded it. It's just real funny. It's just kind of in their face kind of stuff. Oh, good. Solik said he enjoyed it. Yeah, so that's good. Hey, it works.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, check it out on the rebroadcast for sure. It's definitely worth watching. And if you don't catch it here, go over to the Donald J. Trump YouTube channel. It's they got a whole bunch of goofy stuff over there. So that was one of the things they put together about 3 weeks ago is when I recorded it.
Subscribed there.
Well, yeah, I know.
I put one-liners over there.
Yeah, I know. I'm subscribed. They let you share their stuff. Obviously, we're supposed to be sharing stuff anyway, so you want to be sharing it. But whenever I share somebody's video, I always put that little blurb. You can't see it right now, but I got that little blurb right there. It's on the screen right now. It gives the name of the channel, and then I put the link in there as well. It gives the HTTPS, link youtube.com/watch, blah, blah, blah. So, people are nice enough to say share it, use our stuff. Then, you want to give them credit so people know how to get to their channel and how to do it, So, it's a cool channel, though, for sure, without a doubt. Yeah, but yeah,
I'm curious to see those.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, that's it. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's funny because right after we were talking about what we were talking about, how I said, they're, once the conservatives are done with us, it's like they just came out of the woodwork, like you were saying. I mean, like I said, I don't have my laptop on me, but you were saying like there were like 4 or 5 people just popped into the chat like that. I mean, see, they know, they're hearing us. They know, they
Well,
no.
They don't have any good arguments. Okay, again, when Tim Pool brought this up, and we talked about this last night, I talked about it about a week or two ago. Okay, here's the deal: independents, people who say they're independent, they listen to about for their news, they listen to about 60%, liberal outlets, which makes sense. There are more liberal outlets than there are conservative outlets. So about 60% of the news they get from liberal outlets, and 40% from conservatives. So it's a pretty good balance. They get a pretty good balance of what's going on. They get both sides of the story. Now conservatives, we do about 70% to 30%, 70% conservative to 30% liberal. Or actually, I think it's more like 2/3 conservative to 1/3 liberal, like 67% to 33%, something like that. Okay, so that's still not bad.
Yeah.
Now liberals, this number is scary. Okay, this number is really scary. 95% of where they get their news from are from liberal outlets only. 95%. So they never hear the other side. Again, I brought this up last night. Oh, I think you came on right when I was having to go off. I brought this up last night. I was talking to these two liberals I know, really smart people too, and they ain't never heard of Joseph Misford, Alexander Downer, Stepan Halper, Fusion GPS, what's his name, Glenn Simpson, because they're the you know, MSNBC and CNN bury that, and it's called bias. Bias by omission. In other words, when you hear somebody being biased, you can say, "Oh, that guy's being biased," right? But if you never hear a story, you never hear something, well, you don't know that it was biased. The bias is when they cut shit out. When they don't talk about how this whole investigation started with Donald Trump. That Joseph Misford was Italian intelligence. He wasn't a Russian agent. He was Italian intelligence. He runs a spy school in the hills north of Rome. Okay, he's paid for by Italy. Okay, his room and board is paid for. He's paid a salary. He trains Western intelligence agents. Okay, he's good friends with Brennan and Clapper. They've known each other for decades, and probably Comey also, and probably Bob Mueller. He's seen in a bunch of photo ops with the FBI, with senior FBI and CIA intelligence officials in D.C. at different functions. Okay, this guy is like in the West. So he's meeting with Papadopoulos in March and April of 2016. Now, the FBI counterintel investigation did not officially start till July 31st. So who started this investigation before that? And they didn't get an official court order to wiretap anybody until end of September, beginning of October 2016. But they were wiretapping people back in freaking January and February and March. Where did they get that from? Well, those are the FISA 702s. That's when Admiral Rogers warned Trump. Hey, Admiral Rogers, President Obama's NSA director, goes to Trump at the end of November, right after he got elected in 2016, and says, by the way, this building is tapped. This whole building is wired. Every phone call, everything you make out of here is wired. Every staff member you have, all their phone calls are being listened to. So they immediately moved their headquarters, their transition headquarters, over to Bedminster, New Jersey. I think he was just there this weekend, in fact, to one of his resorts. Now, they did all the photo ops and all the big meetings, like with the celebrities and stuff, but it's still at Trump Tower. But they moved the entire transition team operation to New Jersey. Now, when Carter Ash, President Obama's Secretary of Defense, found out about that he had gone not just to Trump, but he also went to the chief FISA court judge and said, hey, there's been a whole lot of shenanigans going on with these FISA court applications and also the use of FISA 702s. And to get a FISA 702, it's the way you bypass the FISA court. Now, the protection built in to say if you can get a warrant to tap somebody's lines and then go 20 out, 20 out, 20 out, like in the Snowden movie. You tap this guy's phone, then he talks to 20 people. Then you can start listening to all their phone calls with the 20 people they each talk to. Eventually, you get to like Lewandowski, Conway, and everything, like Carter Page and Papadopoulos and blah, blah, blah. Now, the protection built in, when Congress wrote that law, they said, okay, you can do it without a court order, but the Director of National Intelligence, in this case James Clapper, and the Director of the FBI, in this case James Comey, they have to both sign off on it. In other words, they said they figured, okay, DNI is a completely separate bureaucracy from the FBI, and if these two guys agree to, wiretap somebody without a court order, it's okay. This is an emergency situation. And they did that. And they were doing that before July 31st, and they were doing that before they got the FISA court warrant. The only reason why they got the FISA court warrant is because you can go back years and years and years. In other words, every phone call we make is recorded. Every email, every conversation, every YouTube thing, every text, fax, everything is held in these big databases going back 20, 30 years. So in other words, when you get that FISA court warrant or that FISA 702, you take that, you go to NSA, you say, okay, bring me up everything on this guy for the last 20 years, and it's all cataloged, and they can pull up all this guy's phone calls for the last 20 years and everybody he talked to, and they say, okay, I want to see, okay, everybody he talked to, I want to hear every phone call they've made and everybody they've talked to, going back, say, 5, 10, 20 years, whatever it is. So you walk over to NSA and you give them that order, and they so it's not just you wiretap from that day going forward. No, you can go back and listen to everything. So and they were doing all this. And then, but if you watch mainstream media, liberals who watch mainstream media, watch CNN and MSNBC or ABC News or CBS News or NBC News and read the Washington Post or the New York Times, they don't know anything about this. So when you bring it up, they think you're crazy, like you're some kind of conspiracy theorist, even though this is all documented. It's been testified to in front of Congress, okay? But they don't cover that, okay? And that's scary. So when these people come on this site and they hear us talking about things that are reasonable, things that make sense, well, they've never heard it. They've been in this echo chamber. And so they think like we're crazy. But we conservatives, we listen to about 1/3 of what we listen to are liberal news outlets, which is true. I'm a subscriber to the Washington Post as well. I'm a subscriber to the Wall Street Journal, which is no pro-Trump newspaper. They're like never Trumpers over there. Okay, I mean, I watch MSNBC, I watch CNN. I mean, now liberals, they don't watch Fox. There's no way you couldn't get a liberal to watch Fox and save yourself. Independents watch Fox, but liberals don't.
Yeah.
So they never see they never see what's going on the other side. And so when these trolls come in here, well, I guess in a way you can feel sorry for them, but that's a choice they're making. You can choose to watch another network. Okay, you can say, you know what, let me check out Fox. Let me see what they're talking about, just to make sure I'm not in my bubble. But they like their bubble. They don't like being challenged. It's like when you talk about the Democratic Socialist Convention, and the guy says, this is triggering me even just by people whispering and chatting, and then when the guy says, you guys. He goes, oh, don't use gender-specific, descriptors, words like guys when you refer to the audience, and don't clap because you're triggering me. I mean, that's who these people are. These people are demented. These people are demented.
Yeah.
Okay, there's something seriously wrong with it. They choose to live in a bubble. They choose to just keep with their own people. They don't want to hear anybody else's point of view. Now when I was in college, when I was on campus in the 1980s, we always wanted to hear other people's point of view. We had great debates. Like I brought this story up several months ago. This was one liberal professor. We had most of the professors were liberal, but this one liberal professor wanted to have a debate on abortion. So, and he set it up it was like at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, one of the halls he had, and a whole bunch of students went there. I was one of them. And it was probably 70% of the students were for abortion and about 30% against. I was part of the 30% against. But let me tell you something. When I went to that debate, nobody had to yell people. Nobody had to say, the professor didn't have to say to people, oh, no, let Carl talk, don't interrupt him, don't yell at him. He never had to say that once. And nobody had to say that to any of these people who were in favor of abortion, even though we are outnumbered 7-3, because people were civil. It was a robust debate. Yeah, you're passionate about your belief. There was a good article written about this I read, and the guy said pretty much with people on the left, it's it's their truth. It's subjective, and they're going to tell you their truth. So they think they're when it comes to truth, they're giving it to you. Whereas conservatives, we think we're more the recipients of truth. We want to hear the truth. We want to find what the actual answer is, what the solution is. We don't have a preconceived notion. We're passionate about our ideas, but and we'll argue passionately about it in a debate. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we know we're right. People on the left, they know they're right. They know they're moral. They know they're virtuous. They know what they're saying is true and we're saying is wrong. Pete Buttigieg wanted to get rid of the Second Amendment. Harris wanted to get rid of the Second Amendment. Warren. I mean, they know they just can't come out and just dump it. I mean, that requires a constitutional amendment. So they can just do it by 1,000 cuts. Take this away, take this away, take this away, take this away. So when these trolls come on here, they're ignorant, but they choose to be ignorant. They choose it because they could easily go on Fox. They could watch 1 hour of Fox a day, and just see, okay, what's the other side saying? They purposely choose not to. I choose to listen to the other side. I choose to read the Washington Post. I choose to do that. I don't have to. I can just stay on my conservative site and just listen to conservative people and just, not listen to anybody else. But we choose not to do that. We choose to be educated. We choose to be edumacated. That's what we choose to do.
Yeah. It's like I know I bring this up many times, and it's like when I've asked a conservative, right? Because I mean, again, I'm not trying to demonize one side over the other. I just look at, if I can see something with facts, I point it out. And it's like, one thing I wish Derek Grayson, I doubt he'll ever cover it, but I would love to hear his opinion on it. But it's like when I ask a conservative, right? Like when they go, the Democrats are infighting and, and I'm glad it's happening. Okay, well, look at it like this. If the progressive side wins the infighting and they manage to push those, more corporate Democrats out, the party's going to be worse than it is. Why would you want that? Right? And then I ask them, well, how come all these moderate, I know I say this all the time, Carl, and then I ask some of these conservatives, okay, well, answer me this. Why were the Blue Dog Democrats purged from the party? And they're like, what are the Blue Dog Democrats? And I said, well, those were the more see, and I use the word more, conservative, Rust Belt Democrats, and they're like, oh, those, how conservative are they? And I go, again, I use the term more. These are the hardcore conservatives that I talk to on these issues, right?
Right.
And they're like, well, and I ask them, well, maybe because they don't want these moderate Democrats. I mean, most of the Blue Dog Democrats were pro-gun. And that's the thing that the socialist wing did not want. They don't want those pro-gun Democrats voting with their conservative counterparts on any kind of, legislation, because those Rust Belt state Democrats know that if they even touch gun issues, they don't get any of the votes, because rural America is heavy favor of the Second Amendment, and we should thank God that they are,
Right.
But see, again, these conservatives can't answer this question, and I'm like, but then I give them an answer, and I'm not demonizing when I talk to them. It's just, I give them an answer, and it's like, well, they just, all these Democrats they're just progressives and they're evil, and I'm like, that isn't necessarily true. They do toe the party line a lot of times, but sometimes they have been known to break from their party. Like, Doug Jones. Doug Jones is the guy who beat Roy Moore. I mean, I don't necessarily like the guy, but I think he's a better choice than an AOC or an Ilhan Omar, because at least, he's come out and said, hey, look, I support the Second Amendment, but you don't really hear much about him nowadays. But he wasn't like when he beat Roy Moore and they were asking him questions, and Doug Jones seemed to kind of be more focused on trying to get something done for Alabama rather than bad-mouthing Trump. Because he's been known to go with the Republicans on a few issues.
Right.
But again, it's like, at what point in time, where did we lose the ability to talk to each other? But see, again, it's the millennial well, I won't say it's all the millennial generation, but it's this younger generation that, they're so brainwashed with well, I won't say video games, let me rephrase that, with social media and their well, I got to see how many likes I have today on my comment, and and I got to believe, and I got to be a part of the La Resistance. They throw out all logic and wisdom in favor of the cause for the moment. And that's exactly what these globalists bank on. And they succeed in doing it. But...
Well, you got to remember, these kids are all coming out of college heavily in debt. They're looking at their future. Now, see, here's the issue. Generally, okay, when you're young, you generally tend to be liberal. Most people generally tend to be liberal just because you're young and you don't have any responsibility, you don't have a family, you don't have to pay taxes. Like Effie was saying, like a lot of these millennials, like they're in favor of like, oh, we should all pay more taxes because, none of them have had a job, and then suddenly they get a job and they get told, oh, you're going to make, $62,000, you're going to make $72,000 a year. They go, oh, wow, $6,000 a month. Oh, I'm going to make $6,000 a month, right? And then they get their first paycheck, and they look and they see the FICA, the Social Security, the Medicare deductions, and then they kind of do the math, and they multiply that check by, like, say, 26. They get paid every 2 weeks. They go, wait a second, I'm not making $72,000 a year. I'm making more like $58,000 a year. Well, what the hell is that? What am I supposed to do with $58,000? Because they've never understood that before. And then also, like, before people came out of college, they would generally get married and start having kids. Well, when you start having kids, you start thinking about things like taxes. Maybe if you're making 58, it's enough for you to survive on your own. But if you have a wife and kids, and even if she's working, and you got to, take care of your kids, and those are expensive. You got to get a bigger house. Right, because now you need a couple extra bedrooms. You can't just get like an apartment, a 1-bedroom apartment, a studio or something for you and your wife, and you can hang out and be cool and have a couple of friends over for some wine and cheese. You got kids, you got to buy clothes and stuff. And also now you start thinking about in terms of like law and order. You can't live downtown. You got to worry about a nice neighborhood where your kids aren't going to get beat up at school and robbed or robbed on the way to school.
Yeah.
So you got to start thinking about law and order issues. Well, when you start thinking about law and order issues and you start thinking about housing and transportation and costs and money and bills and, sending your kids to college, you start getting more conservative. So that's why I say people get older, they get more conservative, right? Because conservatives generally address those issues. It's not just, free, especially if you're working your ass off and you get home and then your kids start demanding stuff of you and you're tired And then you see somebody who's on welfare, and it's like they just want free shit. It's like, hey, fuck, when you get older, you say, hey, fuck that guy because I've been busting my ass all day. I got to come home and take care of my kids, and I got to go back and do it again tomorrow. And meanwhile, here's this idiot who's on welfare, and if he added up, he's making like between 12 and 13 bucks an hour for doing nothing. So you start getting a different attitude. Now, the problem with these kids nowadays, they can't afford to get married. They can't afford to have kids because they come out of college so far in debt. So nobody's getting married. Nobody's settling down because they can't afford it. And even when they get married, they can't afford to have kids because they got this huge debt hanging over. They got like 2 mortgage payments they got to take care of before they even think about buying a house. And so so these kids aren't necessarily becoming more conservative quicker. It takes a little bit longer. So that's why the generation is a little more leftist, and plus they're getting indoctrinated like crazy in these college campuses. I think that one guy was doing, Jonathan Haidt was doing his organization was doing a study, and like something like just 30 years ago, like when I was in college, it was like say a 60-40, 65-35 split for liberal professors versus conservative professors. Well, that split now is more like 95 to 5. Not or 90% to 10% liberal versus conservatives. And these college campuses are scared shitless. One of these kids comes up and yells, racism or triggering or a safe space. These administrators cave. They don't want the hassle. They don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Evergreen.
Oh, that was a great example.
Their enrollment's plummeted. Yeah.
Yeah.
And their enrollment's plummeted. I don't know if they're going to shut their. I don't even know if some people. Well, I haven't really heard much about it, but from what I understand, enrollment has not gone back up. And they're going to. They may be closed. Who knows if they may be closing their doors soon or not. I mean, I would hope not because those professors have families and things, but they did it to themselves. They did it to themselves because they even these. It's funny when you look at the video. Even these liberal professors are getting harassed by these students.
Oh no, that was Brent Weinstein. Brent Weinstein and his brother are like super liberals. I mean, he's like a super liberal progressive guy. I know, so when he was, and he caught a ton of shit because after the whole thing went down, his brother hangs out. They do that thing with Dave Rubin and Jordan Peterson and what's the big guy on YouTube, Rogan, Joe Rogan. So they all kind of hang out together and do debates with each other and stuff, which is really cool. And there's a couple other guys whose names I can't remember. But I mean, Brett Weinstein and his brother are very super liberal. And Brett's really super liberal, and he liked teaching there because it was a liberal-based progressive school, and they had alternative forms of like classrooms. Like the day that whole shit went down, he was in the library and he had kids on different floors of the library kind of working in teams together, just kind of sitting in futons and shit, very relaxed. He was walking around in shorts and sandals. He's a professor, okay, he's a genius, but he's walking around in shorts and sandals and stuff. So, I mean, and then they start coming up to him and start jumping down his shit. And then the school got taken over. And then the head of the university told the police to stand down. And it turned into a freaking riot. And the kids were terrorized. They took over the whole campus for like 2 weeks. Before finally, I think they called the cops in to clean him out, and then he went on Tucker Carlson because mainstream media wasn't covering it. The only person who was going to cover it was Tucker Carlson. He goes on Tucker Carlson show, and then they really got mad at him, and then they eventually hit him, and he got death threats, and he had to get security. They couldn't protect him. It was terrible. He ended up suing the school, and him and his wife was a professor. They were also another liberal. And they're both liberals, probably pretty far left. And they ended up suing the school, and I forgot how much they got. He ended up testifying in front of Congress. Let's see. Let me type in this here, settlement.
And I'll bet he's still liberal to this day.
Let's see. Oh, he got a $500,000 settlement from the university. So, has settled a lawsuit brought by a professor with the center. He got $500,000 to walk away because they pretty much fired him too. So he sued, wrongful termination, and he got a $500,000 check. Yeah. So
but I bet he's still liberal. I don't know how liberal he would be, but if he's
hold
still
on.
as liberal as he.
Got another one. Oh, who do they get? You banned because you all scared.
Oh, well.
Yep. All right. Did we hide them, or we just talking
What did
about?
they say?
Now let's see. Nope. No, I don't know. I'm not. Well, I'm not going to read what they say because it doesn't make any sense to hide their comment.
Oh.
We hide their comments so we don't say what they said.
Okay.
Yeah, we say what they said. It kind of defeats the purpose. So there you
Yeah.
go. But
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, that's true. That's true.
crazy chick Sheena. We don't do timeout here. So anybody says something stupid, they're adults. They get hidden. Way to go, Jervis. That's we hide people. We
Yeah.
do hide user. We don't do timeouts. Timeouts are for kids. This is not a kid channel. If you're an adult, you write something stupid or racist or obnoxious, then you get 86th. You get as we say in Black YouTube, you get the wall. And that's what happens to you. Have a nice day.
Yeah.
Period. Bye.
No, they hear us talking, Carl. They know we're,
Well, of course.
Because,
Good for them. They're stupid.
It's like, they're what?
Well, yeah. Well, of course. I mean, look, they're bored, and they don't want to. I mean, look, they don't want to hang out with each other. I mean, they're all freaks, so they want to come out and hang out with the cool kids. Of course, they want to hang out with us.
Yeah.
But good for them.
And I'm about as cool as you can get. You know what I mean? I mean,
you're like the second
guy.
You're the second coolest guy. You're the second coolest guy I know. I mean, I'm the coolest guy. You're the second coolest guy. There you go. Hey, Jervis. Lee Jervis, big grin on his face. Yeah, Jervis. Yeah. Yeah.
And you know what's funny, Carl? Like me, and I know I say it all the time, but I'm. It's like when I you hear me too. Like when I talk about some left-leaning ideology, you see that I have facts behind it, right? You see that I have at least something to back it up, right? Like how I told you about one of my friends a long time ago. Well, maybe I didn't mention it. Maybe I did. Like he had a novelty store, and church comes in. They want him to close his shop down. Well, they're kind of messing with his livelihood, right? And it's like, what did he do to the church? I mean, it's if the people of the church don't want to, they don't have to look at his business. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, he has a right to have his business. I mean, if he's not doing anything wrong, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, you know what I mean? I'm just saying that that kind of when I talk about stuff like that, I have my facts to back it up, But see, the problem is there's not that many things on the left that actually have facts, And if the facts it's like when you talk about, let's say police who, okay, sometimes, every once in a while you get a cop that, abuses their power. I get it. I've had it happen to me. You know
sure.
what I mean?
No, I mean, hey, there's a few that are stupid. Okay, I run into them every once in a while myself. But it doesn't mean they're all stupid, but a few are. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like, okay, it does happen. It does happen, okay? But then it's like, but then when you start talking about the real issues like, all of the so-called violence in Baltimore, Chicago, and these communities that ban to have the cops out of their communities, and then it's like a week later they want the cops back in. It's
right.
Look at that one guy. Who's that one guy? He was part of the new Black Panther Party, right? And he got robbed, right? He got robbed, and he was actually praising the police, for helping him get his stuff back. Why did this guy get, harangued by his comrades, as we should say,
Right.
They were demonizing him, and he's like, how can this be? I don't get this. I'm just giving a little credit where credit was due, and he's all of a sudden, being the ugly duckling, of all the, like he's being treated like the ugly duckling. What's our call? Have to be, I talk in riddle a lot of times, I know, but we all know the algorithms, they don't see that, and then it starts, if they have any brains, they start questioning, what it is I'm fighting for, or if I'm fighting for it, am I fighting on the wrong side? Like how I've said many times before, many of your classical, let me say moderate individuals, like your moderate Democrats have found their fight on a conservative side because, they feel, like the Tim Pools of the world, they feel their parties have abandoned them. They're like alone on an island. They have nobody around. That they're like, okay, well, am I the only one, who doesn't see, who am I the only one who sees the idiocy in all this? It's like, I know liberals who have gotten out of college, and then you tell them, well, does it bother you that somebody from another country gets hired to do the same job you do and they're paying them less? And then they say, well, no, I think it's a great thing because, that they're here, they're contributing. Okay, meantime, you don't have a job and you're in debt because somebody took your job, and that's the kind of brainwashed ideology that they're it's like when those people were clapping, we're going to give all non-citizens government assistance, and everyone's clapping, yeah, hey, yeah, right there they're applauding their own demise.
Right.
What was it in Star Wars? What was it that Natalie Portman's character said? This is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause, And it's funny because you watch those Lucas is a huge liberal. But what's funny when you watch the 3 Star Wars movies, the prequels, they have more conservative messages than, you got to know what to look for. But the conservative messages are so obvious there, in the movies. Same thing with Captain America Winter Soldier. Captain America Winter Soldier was staunchly very many conservative talking points. Same thing with Black Panther, right? Like, there's scenes in the movie of, I'm a huge Marvel fan, I'm sorry, I love my Marvel movies.
No, go ahead.
They talked about, where there was a scene where T'Challa, who's the character in the movie who is Black Panther, I forget the guy, Chadwick Boswick, I think, who played him, right? But the character's name is T'Challa, right? Mm-hmm. He's talking to one of his friends where he says, Wakanda has a shield over it. It's hidden from the world. Why? Now, let's take a guess why. Because in the movie, they don't want outsiders influencing their society. They even talk about it in this movie, right? And it's like, well, for a director who's supposed to, I don't know what the director's ideology is or what his or her political affiliation is, but I'll tell you what, if you're putting right-wing talking points in your movie, you're probably not as liberal as you want the world to think you are, especially if when you're a director and you have final say on everything that gets said on camera and everything that gets, filmed. I saw a movie once where this college girl says, or this girl that, she looks like a typical teenager on the phone. She goes, she tells her dad, college breeds liberals. Well, I tell you what, whoever filmed that movie must have been a staunch conservative.
Right.
Put a line like that in there. But anyway, what I was saying about Black Panther was, he's having a conversation with one of his friends, right? And he goes, we don't need the outsiders in there. We don't need the world's, foreigners bring the problems. Right.
I know. I remember. I didn't watch the movie, but I remember some of the critiques of it, and that's one of the things they brought up. It was like, they were like definitely not for open borders in that movie. I mean, they had big walls and stuff, and they had cloaks to keep people from finding them. They were like, we don't want outsiders. We don't want any strangers coming here and ruining our place. And my God, they could have put signs up, go back to where you. I guess they could add a sign up, go back to where you came from. That would have been the only difference,
Yeah. And it's like these progressives, they can't see they can't see, because what's really funny and what a lot of conservatives don't understand is there's more right-wing talking points in movies, but you got to know what to look for.
Right.
There's more of them than you might think, And I say thank God not all of Hollywood is insane. John Boy, when he came out and made that comment, boy, did he set off a lot of liberal actors.
Yeah, but you haven't seen him work that much either, have you? Unfortunately.
No.
Yeah, well that's what happens.
From a time when, But he comes from a time when Hollywood was more conservative, like in the 80s and 70s. Hollywood was more conservative than it is today. Like anything else, the left infiltrates and they take it over. Kevin Sorbo, he's from what I understand, he's a conservative. Dean Cain.
Yeah, Dean Cain for sure. Yep.
Yeah, Kevin Sorbo is too, I believe. I don't know where Bruce Campbell stands. I liked him in the Evil Dead series, but I didn't follow him much after that. But I think even Zoe Sadowski came out and said something like positive about Trump. I don't remember what it was, but I think so. Yeah, I believe so. The Rock is a Republican, but I don't know what his stance on Trump is. Brock Lesnar. I think Brock Lesnar. I think he is a Trump supporter. I could be wrong, but Dennis Rodman, Mike Tyson. Of course, nobody's going to say anything about Mike Tyson. It's like Floyd Mayweather. I don't know if you saw an interview with Floyd. I mean, I don't know. Well, I guess you could. He's part of the entertainment industry. I'll lump him in there with the entertainment industry, right? Because he is. He did that interview where he wasn't necessarily bashing Trump, but he wasn't defending him either. And he said, people don't like the truth. And you look at all those faces in that room, they didn't like what Floyd Mayweather was saying. Floyd Mayweather said, look, Trump did what he had to do. He did his homework, and he got to where he got because he did his homework. Those were the key words that Floyd Mayweather said. And that couldn't be more true. I mean, Floyd Mayweather, the guy doesn't, the guy's pretty about business. The man's about business. He knows what's up. And he even said that, nobody called Trump a racist before he ran in the White House, and, he even said that. So in a way, I guess you could say he's defending Trump in a way, or just pointing out some of the things that were obvious. I mean, look at all those photos with Sharpton and Jackson with Trump, and there was even that thing, Patricia Dixon, I think, put it in her community where Hillary Clinton said, I wish someone like Donald Trump would run for office. All of the hypocrisy that has been exposed it's mind-blowing. I remember when I first came on the show, I used to say we were always in for a wild ride. And we're riding that roller coaster right now. And that roller coaster is only going to get faster as 2020 approaches.
Right.
So it's like, we have, anybody who's hearing my voice right now, find out what you can do to, get involved. I mean, I understand most people I don't have a family, so it's easier for me. But, but people who don't have families, find something. I mean, people who have families, I mean, even if you got a family, you got to try and make some time to get involved somehow, I mean, how you do it is up to you if you even choose to do it. But get out there, get your voice heard, find a way to get to the people to the polls, find a way to volunteer your time to do something because, Trump, even if Trump gets reelected, we got to find ways to support Trump's replacement. I mean, there's people that can replace him, but we have to find out, we got to start having the conversations, well, what can he or she do to attract a voter base, I mean, it isn't simple enough that they say, well, I supported Trump. They got to have something. They got to be able to deliver a message, and hopefully, there'll be some sanity returned to the Democrat Party. I doubt it, but we can always hope. I've seen a couple of things where some Democrats have actually, come out against these socialists. Like that guy I was telling, Tony Patriot, released a video. And then there was that other Democrat who knew Trump for a long time, came out and praised him. He's like, Trump's not a racist. Trump's actually doing good. And these are two Democrats. So maybe what we're starting to see is a shift in the Democrat Party, and maybe those moderates can get a foothold of control again. I mean, they're the lesser of the two evils. And it's like, we got to work with what we got. I mean, heck, even if a Democrat came out pro-America, I could vote for him or her, but they can't just stand for this. They got to have stuff that align with my values, like low taxes, job creation, not serving your globalist master and taking kickbacks, but doing something to better the lives of everybody who wants to help make this country a better place for the next generation, Right. I'm sorry, Carl. I'm hogging so much time. I'm sorry.
No, you're doing good, man. You're doing good.
Carl, it's funny because sometimes I go back and I look at the videos, right? The videos, and some of them got like almost 5,000 views. You know, I don't know if that's people watching it from start to finish, but hopefully some of those people are sharing those videos on their social medias. You know,
Yeah,
and
that'd
they're
be
hearing
good.
our voices.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah,
That'd be good.
You
You
know,
know.
and maybe and hopefully some center left individual hears our voices and they see that, well, you know, maybe not everybody who leans on the right is forgive the way I say this, but, you know, hardcore, you know, conservative type individual, you know. I mean, like I said, and I'll say it again, I have some left leaning views, but like I said, they have facts behind them and they're facts that I can stand by, you know. But again, the key word is facts, you know, not fantasy, not unicorns and rainbows, facts, you know. But again, that's a hard concept for some people to get, you know. But, you know, I just hope, you know, I just hope we can still maintain this course of winning, you know. I mean, I don't, winning in a way that it benefits everybody, you know. And like I said, the enthusiasm's there. You know, you look at the rallies and stuff, the enthusiasm's there, but we got to do more than show up for rallies and show up for pep talks. I mean, we got to find ways to get mobilized, and we got to find ways. You know, I think, you know, like that one guy who went to Baltimore to clean up. I think, you know, I got to follow him. I got to find out who he was. Scott somebody. You know, I think he was talking about maybe doing some kind of a thing where, you know, they go door to door and hand out a list of Trump's accomplishments. You know what? I don't know that for sure. I don't know if it was him, but I know I've heard some people do it. And it's good to see that people are starting to do it. But like you said, we're not in a position to take our time with this. We got to learn from, you know, infant to crawling to walking to jogging to running, you know.
Right. Really quick, too.
And, you know, yeah. And I think it can happen. You know, I don't think it's too late, you know. But again, we all have to be open-minded and we all got to listen to each other, you know. And a lot of times when I'm listening to somebody, you know, I don't have to get in their face to tell them they're wrong. I mean, so that's where some of these conservatives make their mistake, is they sit there and they just, well, you're wrong, and these are facts. And you can't shove facts down people's throat. You got to give them a little bit of stuff to work with. You know, let them absorb it slowly, you know. Like I did with, you know, with a couple of my friends on some of these gun control issues that these Democrats want to push forward, and these rhino Republicans, you know, that want to see happen. You know, let them process it, let them come to terms with it, and then if they come to you for more information, be prepared, have your facts, you know, answer the questions that they have. Don't do it in a way that's going to turn them off too, you know.
Right.
I mean,
Well, tell you what,
know,
stay on the phone. Let's cover this next story here. Okay, this one you
sure.
can't see it, but I'll read it to you. Leaked FBI report. This is from the Pluralist. This is from today. The Pluralist, which I just found today. This website. It's a pretty good site. It says leaked FBI report shows left wingers are a bigger threat than white supremacists. Think about that one. So the FBI is like saying, well, the left wingers are actually a bigger threat than white supremacists. This is from the FBI. All this bullshit talking, you know, like Tucker when he said his thing, you know, he caught a bunch of shit for it. And but you know, he was right. And the FBI, somebody at the FBI says, you know, fuck this, we're going to leak this, because they actually, you know, did this big, huge study and everything to see what's going on out there. You know, like screw the politics, we want to see what's going on. Of course, this pissed off the House when it leaked. So they called in.
FBI leaked this out, you said?
Well, somebody at the FBI leaked it out, and then Congress called in Christopher Wray to answer about it. But anyway, so the leaked FBI report shows left wingers are a bigger threat than white supremacists. Again, by the Pluralist, August 10th, 2019. So let's see here. Let's make this smaller so we can read it a little bit better.
Wow, that's huge news.
All right. So the FBI, here we go. With liberals sounding the alarm about a supposed revival of white supremacy, a leaked report suggests that the FBI is actually more concerned about left-wing extremists. So the FBI's 2018-2019 Consolidated Strategy Guide, an annual summary of the agency's security priorities, was released Thursday by the Young Turks, actually, a leftist media network. According to the internal report, the FBI is worried about an elevated and possibly growing threat from black identity extremists, or also known as BIEs, black identity extremists, BIEs. A rise in radicalized attacks on law enforcement officials first came to the FBI's attention following the 2014 shooting of Michael Brown in Ferguson. So, in other words, a rise in a rise in racialized attacks on law enforcement, to wit, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Dallas, New York, pick a place, pick a city. A rise in racialized attacks on law enforcement officials first came to the FBI's attention following the 2014 shooting of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, and the subsequent acquittal of the officers involved, the report said. Let's see. The FBI judges black, what does it say? BIE again, what does that stand for? Black identity. The FBI judges black identity extremist perceptions, excuse me, of police brutality against African Americans have likely motivated acts of premeditated, retaliatory, lethal against law enforcement in 2016 and will continue to serve as justification for violent incidents. I'll read that again. The FBI judges black identity extremist perceptions of police brutality against African Americans have likely motivated their acts of premeditated, retaliatory, lethal force against law enforcement in 2016 and will continue to serve as justification for their violent incidents. The document said, while black identity extremist targets white law enforcement officers, all law enforcement officers are considered BIE targets for their participation in this perceived unjust system. BIEs often view African American police officers as race traitors. According to the report, other black identity extremists seek to establish a separate black homeland, or at least autonomy for blacks within the United States. The FBI in part blamed black anti-law enforcement violence on heavy media coverage. We were just talking about that. Heavy media coverage of police brutality. The agency said it has responded by launching a counterintelligence program called Iron Fist, but it provided few details, of course. Why the FBI isn't too worried about white supremacy. When it comes to the supposed scourge of white supremacy, by contrast, the FBI identified only a quote-unquote medium threat. The agency noted that white supremacist groups are in long-term decline and predicted that their membership will continue to fall throughout the 2020s. The FBI further judges ongoing attrition of national organized white supremacy extremist groups will continue over the next year, yielding a white supremacy extremist movement primarily characterized by locally organized groups, small cells, and lone offenders. The report says, also flagged as security threats for animal rights groups and environmental extremists, along with Islamic terrorists and abortion extremists, people who are pro-abortion or anti-abortion, actually. And Ken Klippenstein, the Young Turks writer who released the FBI report, suggested, now this is their spin on it, suggested that it proves that the agency is targeting black Americans and not taking white supremacy seriously enough. So there you go. Right. So anyway, that was their take on it. But at the same point in time, let's see. Let's get this here.
I love him when you ever watch American Joe, and he lets the Young Turks have it, and I love how Joe, he puts them on blast. If you ever seen his videos, and I tell you what, Joe does a great job of calling them out. I mean, he always says, I watch it so you don't have to. It's a public service.
Public service. I watch it so you don't have to watch it. No, I mean, well, I watch it for two reasons. I watch it to see. I watch it so to be able to critique them, but I also watch to see what they're saying. I just want to know what their point of view is. I just want to see what the other point of view is. Because you got to check yourself. I mean, again, if we're just all talking to each other, then we're going to fall into the same trap that they're in right now. I mean, years from now, we'll be like only 95% listening to conservative outlets, and we'll be in the same fucking bubble they're in, and we'll be just as stupid. Yeah. Okay, we'll just be stupid on the right. Well, we don't want to be stupid. I don't want to be stupid. I want my brain to be expanded, and if I have a good position, I want to make sure that it can. If I read an article and then suddenly I go, well, then it makes me want to research it to see if my position is correct. Because you don't just take the other article. You don't just switch your mind around and say change your mind because you read one article. You read an article, you go, oh, I didn't think about that. Let me check this out. And so then you research it, and make sure you're still on good ground, because maybe you're not on good ground. Maybe you're wrong. I mean, think about that. But so we're just in our bubble, and I say one thing, and you go, yeah, Carl, that's right. You say something, I go, yeah, that's right, and that's all we're doing. And that's all I do. But it's like when I get ready for one of my shows. I'm researching articles, I'm pulling up articles, but I'm also pulling up articles that contradict the articles I'm going to show to make sure this article I'm reading is on good ground. It is solid. That it's well researched and it's thorough to make sure I'm not just putting something up there that's just, again, we're back in our bubble, which again we don't want to be. That kind of shit.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of how I approach what I do, on YouTube. It's the way I actually. It's funny. Everybody, what I would always say is what you probably need to do if you're thinking about it is you want to approach like your YouTube channel the way you approach life. That way you're the same person.
Yeah.
So I've always approached my life like that, and it kind of goes along with my profession. I'm an attorney, so I have to be able to see the other point of view. In other words, like if I take on a case and my client tells me something, I don't go, yay, great case. My client's telling me the truth all the time. And then all of a sudden I get into court and here comes the other side of the story. And it turns out everything my client told me was a bunch of bullshit. And, so I one compliment I've always gotten was that I know how to look at both sides of a file, my side of the file and the opposing side of the file. So you want to be able to, it's kind of along my profession. I look at both points of view and I make sure that I'm on good ground. And if I'm not on good ground, then it's like for instance, like this FISA court warrant thing. Okay, when they go to the FISA court judge, that's done ex parte, meaning that the judge is only getting one point of view, the FBI, right? There's not a defense attorney. Carter Page's defense attorney was not in the room saying, "Well, that's not really true. My guy didn't travel to Moscow on this date and meet with this guy, and that never happened. He was actually in, Long Beach, California, and here's a videotape of him in front of a McDonald's at Long Beach, to prove it. He wasn't there. So when they do the ex parte, when you do an ex parte motion in front of a judge, and I've done this my entire career, you put not just your good points, okay? You also let the judge know, okay, this is where I might be a little bit weak. Okay, and I might be a little bit weak because of this, this, and this. In other words, you kind of make the other side's argument for them, and the other side doesn't even know you're doing it because it's ex parte without notice. But if you're going to ask a judge to issue an order without the other side having a chance to respond, you damn well, and I've done this my entire career for over 25 years, I've never left a judge hanging. This is what professionally and personally pissed me so much about the FISA court application they did, was that you never leave a judge hanging. You tell the judge, these are my good points, these are my weak points, and this is what the other side would say if they were here. Okay, I've always done that. So a judge knows when they're signing an order, they've seen the other, and sometimes I hate to say this, but some of the arguments I make for the other side are actually better arguments than they've ever made themselves, or they ever will make in the course of the case as the case goes forward. It's like I actually make better arguments than they do for themselves. Okay, so and that's what pissed me off so much about the FISA court application. They knew that was a paid-for document from Hillary Clinton. They knew it was opposition research, and if they had gone to the judge and said, "Here, you know what? Just don't rubber stamp this. We want a hearing." Okay, because this is tight. We're asking you to spy on somebody who works for a campaign, which, as you know, is going to lead us all the way right back up to the candidate, to the candidate's campaign headquarters, to his campaign manager, to all their campaign preparation materials, their speeches, their debate preparation materials. We know this is going to lead us to all those places, and we're going to be able to look at all those things. So what they should have said, look, this is why we want to do this, but we're basing this on, one, Joseph Misford was working for us. He talked to Papadopoulos. Papadopoulos talked to Downer. Downer's working for us. Downer tells Strzok, well, Strzok knew the whole thing already, and then Strzok asked for this investigation. So that was to get us started. Okay, maybe we were a little bit bad doing that, but this is what we found out since. And now we're also basing on this dossier. Now, this dossier, I hate to tell you this, Judge, this was paid for by the Clinton campaign who's running against the guy we're targeting. Oh, well, shit. And have you checked it out yourself? Well, we didn't. We didn't go to Russia. We didn't go to Moscow. We didn't call any of our CIA guys in Moscow and say, hey, what do you know? What do you see? Whatever. We didn't do anything. And the judge would have said, fuck you, get the hell out of my chambers. What's the shit? This is stupid. But they didn't do that. They lied to that judge. They went in, and lying is like if failure to disclose, lying is also the failure to disclose a material fact, which, but for that fact, the judge or whoever would not rely on it. Like if you're selling a house and you fail to disclose that the house was on fire, and then ServPro comes in and they say like it never ever happened, then you fail to disclose that. Then they get in the house and the damn roof collapses, but if you had disclosed that fact to the prospective buyer, they probably wouldn't buy the house. So failure to disclose material fact that but for that non-disclosure, the people would have not acted the way you wanted them to act. That's also a form of lying. That is fraud. Okay, so that's what they did to the FISA court. They committed fraud because they didn't disclose all the facts to the FISA court judge, even though they knew all the facts. They knew the Steele dossier was never verified by anybody. They knew it came from opposition research paid for by the Clinton campaign, and the ultimate target was not Carter Page, was going to be the entire Trump campaign. And if they told the FISA court judge that, she would have thrown him out of either the courtroom or her chambers or wherever the hell they were meeting. It was said, get out, you're not getting it. And they knew that, and that's why they lied to her. That's why or him, and that's why they didn't tell this judge everything. And that's why I'm really pissed off about it more than anything.
Yeah, well, look at all the documents that Judicial Watch has been able to obtain, and Tom Fitton, that seems to be one of Judicial Watch's main focuses, is trying to get those documents. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm glad Judicial Watch is pursuing it, because we don't need an abuse of power like that from any president's administrations, any administration, But, like, for me, Judicial Watch is, they're kind of spread thin. It's like, when you get their notices, right? I don't know if you ever get their notices or not, but they release like different newsletters, and they have a great podcast. I mean, where they talk about this stuff, and people, they have their YouTube channel. They got their I usually watch their podcast because it doesn't buffer as badly, But they explain to people why it's important to try and bring attention to what has happened. I mean, Spygate is a very, very serious thing, and people are like, no, it's nothing. It's somebody made a mistake, and I'm like, no, this is an abuse of power on many levels. I mean, on many levels of the FBI, and people just don't, and sometimes even some of these conservatives are like, they don't get it, But again, it's like kind of like what, going back to what Derek Grayson says, people who think they're conservative, but they vote for, people who would aid these rhinos and aid individuals like Bruce Orr, and, like how many people, like when they set up that special counsel, right, with Robert Mueller, how many Republicans, I guarantee you, there were a ton of Republicans who had a hand in getting that investigation started. The rhinos, basically,
Mm-hmm.
And they have the support, obviously, of some of the smaller.
One of the people they leaked it to was John McCain. They knew how much John McCain hated Donald Trump. They leaked it to him in December of 2016 after the election. They're hoping he'd make it public. Yeah. 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 So I mean, there were a lot of. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, I was going to say, go ahead. There were no, you go ahead.
Yeah, because they figured McCain. I mean, McCain met this guy in like Newfoundland at some conference, and they got him the entire Steele dossier, and he was trying to get it out himself, but he didn't know how to shop it around without kind of committing treason. So, he was having a hard time figuring out how to do that, but he was looking for a way to get it out as well. His staff member, who I think got called in front of Congress, he was trying to get it out as well, and they were going to charge him actually, but they never did, of course, because it was against Trump, so of course nobody gets charged if they do anything against Trump, because Trump is the devil. He's evil. You can't do anything too bad against Trump. I mean, again, I watch MSNBC a lot, and just some of the shit anything he does, anything he says, they just totally just rip it to pieces. It's really awful. They don't talk about they were watching the one rally in Cincinnati, and that one thing when they were yelling "send her back." Well, that was like 2 minutes of the entire 2-hour rally. And that's all they covered. And they said, this is going to be Trump's campaign because he's not going to talk about the economy. He's not going to talk about jobs. He's not going to talk about foreign policy. Well, no, he did. Okay, he spent the other hour and 58 minutes talking about just that. He talked about the economy. I watched the damn 2-hour thing. He talked about the economy. He talked about the unemployment numbers. He talked about investments. He talked about opportunity zones. He talked about prison reform. He talked about all those things. They just didn't show it like on Joy Reid's show or Brian Williams' show. They just showed that one snippet when people were yelling "send her back." That was it. And they said, he's not going to talk about the economy. He's going to run his campaign like this. Well, if you would have covered, just even another 15 minutes, just pick another 15 minutes worth of clips, you would have seen, wow, gee, he spent a lot of time talking about the economy. Well, they make it sound like he didn't, because they figured most people didn't watch it, because people watching their channel didn't watch it because they didn't cover it. The only station that was covering it was Fox, unless you were watching it online, and the only outlets that were covering his rally online were conservative outlets. Nobody else was covering it. You know, like Right Side Broadcasting and a few other places. You know, and of course they don't watch those. They don't watch those sites. They're not subscribed to those sites. What do they want to do that for? I mean, shit.
Yeah. It's hard to know if Fox News is still I mean, like Brian Shepard, I can't stand Brian Shepard. You know, he's like one of the worst never Trumpers over there. I haven't watched him in a long time, since some of the things he said about Trump. But, you still have Hannity, you still have Jeannie Pirro is still over there, Laura Ingraham, those are some of the most highest-rated hosts that Fox has.
Well, yeah, but Tucker. Let me tell you. Let me something. After Tucker did that whole "there is no white supremacy, it's all a hoax" thing on Wednesday, he wasn't on air Thursday. Okay, and Friday was kind of like it was almost like it was taped. I could tell it was taped because when they broke away for the live news segment, it didn't come back the right way. And they didn't talk about any of the issues. So I don't know if he actually was on a planned vacation for Thursday or Friday, or they said take a couple of days off. I don't know. But what he said was pretty much what that FBI report we just read said. Okay, pretty much that this whole, there is no white supremacy movement. Yeah, there are white supremacists. I've dealt with them on other sites as a moderator. There are white supremacists out there, but it's not a movement. There are a few nutcases out there who think like this, but it's not a movement. Like Tucker said, you could fill up like a basketball stadium with all the people in the country that are part of this thing, that ascribe to those ideas. I mean, out of a country of 330 million, there's not a lot. Now, one guy with a gun goes down and does something, it gets all the headlines. But if they took that shooting in context with all the other shootings going on that weekend in if you add up Baltimore, Chicago, St. Louis, East St. Louis, Lansing, Erie, you add up all those cities. I mean, okay. I mean, yeah, it was bad, but I mean, in context of what happens in this country on a daily basis, it was one shooting. Don't get me wrong, and it was horrendous, but you got to put in some kind of context. And of course, they don't want to put it in context. And then I watched what Don Lemon's response to what Tucker said, and like they played the clip. They played part of the clip from Tucker, and then his response was, "Wow, can you believe that?" After what just happened this weekend. Well, that's kind of anecdotal evidence. So like after this one incident, and of course none of them are talking about Dayton. None of them bring up Dayton. They say, 34 people were killed in these 3 events. But they don't, first of all, the garlic shooter, nobody really knows what his motivation is, but they've ruled out any kind of racial motivation because he's at the fucking garlic festival. Primarily white people were there. It's Northern California. Okay, so it wasn't a racial thing. He's white, and the people he was shooting at were white. But I don't know what his reason was. I don't know, maybe he's just some pissed-off kid. He looks like he's like 14 years old. Okay, now the Dayton shooter, we know he's a leftist. He's a big pro-Antifa, pro-Sanders, a big anti-Trump guy, and he was just trying to accelerate the cause of socialism. He was trying to create almost like a race war himself, or create some kind of upheaval that would bring up, because he said, I'm tired of waiting for socialism to take effect. I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to push this forward faster. And that's what his attempt was to do. He was going to go in there and lay waste to that entire bar. But those Dayton cops, they were just right down the street because they patrol that area. I mean, he's obviously not a very smart guy because there's a huge police presence in that area because it's a downtown, what do they call it? Not rehabilitated area, something like that, where they go into a shitty area in downtown in Dayton, right, where all the businesses have left because crime is high. They say, okay, we're going to revitalize it. We're going to revitalize downtown. So you want to basically what you're trying to do is all the people that moved out of downtown and live in the suburbs, you're trying to bring them back into downtown to spend their money. But they have to know they're safe. They have to know they can park their car. The car's not going to get burglarized. They're not going to get carjacked. They're going to be able to leave a bar and walk down the sidewalk to another bar or another restaurant and not get mugged. So what they do is like San Diego, the gas lamps. They put a huge police presence down there to let the people from the suburbs know it's safe to come here. And you walk around. You park your car somewhere and you just walk from bar to restaurant. And these cops, they're on foot patrol. And there's a lot of squad cars down there, but a lot of these guys are on foot patrol. They're just walking around. And so this idiot doesn't realize that for some reason because he's stupid. And sure enough, when they hear the shots fired, they're calling it in. They're running. They're only 25, 30 seconds away, and they came right up on him. And you can see when he gets shot, he was chasing these people. You see the one bouncer, he's out there like on the radio talking to the people inside the club, and he sees this guy coming down the sidewalk with a gun. He sees everybody running away from him back into the club. Everybody runs inside, and then you see the guy, this asshole with the gun. He's coming around like around the outside seating area, and he's kind of like making a left to go into the club. And he didn't spot the two, maybe three. I think it was two. It might have been three cops off to his right, and they just opened up on him, and they just emptied their magazines into him, and he went down. And he was trying to get back up because he had body armor on. So, but nobody talks about the Dayton shooter. Well, he was a leftist. He's a big Warren Sanders supporter. And the last Sanders supporter could have killed a whole bunch of Republicans. The only reason why he didn't, because they had two Capitol police officers out there, because Steve Scalise was the majority whip, and by being the majority whip, he's entitled to two Capitol police officers when he goes out in public. But if he wasn't there, he probably would have killed probably 14, 15 Republicans right there on the field, because there was nobody there to stop him. But they was just fortunate that Scalise was there, and Scalise had his Capitol police officers with him. So when he started shooting, he didn't expect those cops there either. And so next he's shooting at these Republicans on the baseball field, and all of a sudden these two guys, they just start opening up. They got handguns, they're pretty far away, but they made him keep his head down, and they made him engage. And then when the cavalry showed up, the rest of the D.C. Police Department shows up, then that was the end of it. They took him out. But nobody talks about that guy either. So they just say it's all on the right. And that FBI report, Tucker's right about it. The FBI report is right about it. It's like this white supremacy. There's some white supremacists out there. Again, I've dealt with them when I was a moderator on another site, but it's not a movement. It's just a few guys out of 330 million people. It's relatively speaking a few guys. Okay. Unfortunately, though, they know how to shoot. They shoot straight. That's the part. They inflict more casualties than other people do when they shoot a lot of rounds. They actually hit targets. They hit people. That's what makes it seem so bad.
Those two Australian guys, I think. Oh God, what was it? That one Australian guy who called into your showroom one time. Remember that?
Oh, he was a troll.
Awkward.
He was a troll. He was weird.
Yeah.
He's like, show the rest of your house or something. I'm like, hey, fuck you, buddy. And then somebody writes, another Australian guy writes, get the guy off your site. And so I got him off. Well, that's when I was first starting. I wasn't as knowledgeable about trolls and how to deal with phone calls, and I got this thing totally wired now. So no, I mean, I'm zombie-licious. I'm zombie fantastic. I am like. Now I got this whole thing wired, and plus I got a lot of blue wrenches out there, so I'm really happy about that. The kind of I hate to say it's blue. I hate to say the blue wall, but somebody said call it the wrench wall, but it doesn't really fit. The blue wall sounds better. But yeah, I always like having a good blue wall out there. So if somebody does show up, say something stupid, racist, obnoxious, anti-gay, or anti-Semitic, they can go down the road. See you. Have a nice day.
Yeah. Well, they think they're part of law resistance, and what they're really doing is contributing to the destruction of our country. And
they want to tear it down.
Like
no, they want to tear it down. That they do now. They want to tear down all our institutions because they think all these institutions are misogynistic, racist, probably homophobic. They think all our institutions are just awful. They basically want to say, look, the founding fathers, we hate them. Okay, we hate the founding fathers. We hate the United States Constitution. We hate the free market economy. This will work much better if we get rid of the free market economy, get rid of this democratic republic we have, get rid of the Constitution, get rid of whatever the founding fathers wrote, burn the Declaration of Independence, and just start over and build it based on Marx, Mao, Stalin, Lenin. Pick one. And because whatever they're going to pick is going to be better than what we have right now. That's what they believe.
Yeah.
And,
socialism has, let me just use the term, done away with over 140 million people, and who knows how much of that was on starvation alone. If I remember seeing those numbers correctly, 140 million people. That's almost half the population of the United States. It's funny because I heard somebody say one time that because the United States is such the richest nation in the world, right? Somebody said that the United States would be the most greatest socialist experiment of all. And I'm like, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. You know, you don't know. And it's funny because you ask, and again, I want the trolls to hear me say this. Would they give up one, and I know there's no getting through to them, I get it. I know that. I get it. You know, but ask them if they would give up, or better yet, why don't they ask one of their friends if they would give up something they worked for to somebody who needs it, like a family who doesn't have anything. See how quickly they tell you no, they wouldn't do it, you know. But again, the brainwashed mentality and the indoctrination of, you know, of these individuals. Now, let's say if somebody calls them out on it, right? Like if one of their own call them out on it. Well, how come you wouldn't do that? And let's say they're preaching what they teach. I got more respect for the person who preaches what they teach, even though I don't agree with them. But I can at least, you know, say, hey, look, I respect you for putting your money where your mouth is, you know. And again, but see, again, they're not, even though they're preaching what they teach, they're still preaching something that is not a good thing. And it's not anything that's going to benefit anybody, you know. I mean, you know, some people say that where we're at today in society is fault of both the right and the left. I've never really looked at it in that context, so I can't really, you know. I mean, I guess if I had to look at, you know, the context of that, like I would probably and Carl, please correct me if I'm wrong, okay? You know, because I'm not, you know, like I said, I don't know everything, and you're a lot smart. You're 18,000 times smarter than I am.
Oh, shut up! No, I'm not.
No, but seriously, you've actually helped me look at things from a different perspective. Like, let's say if I were to blame, okay, let's say if I were to talk about this with somebody, right, this argument, right, and let's say the right is to blame for something. Okay, well, one thing that I would probably take away from where the right's to blame is like all these people who, you know, tell people of the LGBT community that they're going somewhere because of their lifestyle, right? And I'm like, you can't tell people stuff like that, you know, live and let live. That's what I would say. But then you have people on the left who, you know, want to demonize a cake baker because they don't want to make a cake, you know, for them, you know, when you can just simply go to another cake baker who will bake your cake because there's somebody who will say, hey, look, my religion doesn't pay the bills, my job does. I'm sorry, that's just how I look at it myself. You know, I'm going to, you know, my services are going to be who's going to pay me the money. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I can have my opinions without exposing them to other people. You know what I mean? And again, those are some of just the two arguing points that I would take away from that in particular argument. But I don't know. Do you have any idea on that, or what are your thoughts on that?
As far as what? Being able to take away their argument or something, or being able to.
Well, no, but like how people say. No, but how people say that the fault of what's happening now is both the right and the left. I mean, how would you classify that?
No, I wouldn't. Because, again, it goes back to what Tim Pool was showing, that, you know, conservatives, about 70% of the time, or maybe two-thirds of the time, they listen to conservative outlets, but they also listen to liberal outlets one-third of the time. That's how they get their news. So they get a balanced kind of news system. The left, they don't do that anymore. The liberals used to always be very open-minded. Now what they do is they listen to 95% of the news they listen to comes from liberal outlets only. And then if you go to these liberal outlets, they're disasters. I mean, again, for 2 years we were told Donald Trump was a Russian agent. He was a Russian spy. He was part of a sleeper cell. He had made a deal with he had made a deal with Putin like back in the 90s or something when Putin was head of the KGB. And I mean, I heard that for 2 years. Rachel Maddow said the most horrific, craziest things, and then she'd always pose it in the form of a question. Do you think it could be possible that Donald Trump is really a Russian agent? And then when he had that meeting with Putin, and he said, well, you know, and Putin, he goes, and then they say, well, your intelligence agency said that the Russians interfered with the U.S. election. Well, he goes, well, I just asked him. He said he didn't, so, you know, I got to take him at his word. Everybody said, oh, he's a traitor. Oh, he believes Putin over the intelligence agencies. You know, nobody said out loud, Oh, the intelligence agencies. I mean, the same people that told us that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. The head of the FBI at the time told George W. Bush in the Oval Office, weapons of mass destruction are a slam dunk. They got them. Well, then guess what? 2 years later, what do we find out? They didn't have any, and it was all bullshit.
Yeah, I
It was all
remember.
It was all
Yeah.
bullshit, and we lost over 4,000 guys there, and we took our eye off the prize in Afghanistan. We're still paying for that because we didn't finish the job when we could have. Instead of sending 200,000 troops to Iraq, we could have sent 200,000 troops to Afghanistan, and trust me, that situation would have been over pretty fast. But we had to commit all these troops and forces to Iraq and pull them out of Afghanistan, and that's why, again, what's his name? Dumb shit. The guy, fuck. Osama bin Laden was able to get away, okay, because we have enough forces here, because they were pulling everything out, preparing for war against Iraq, which was a complete joke. It was bullshit. There were no weapons of mass destruction. Okay, so we're going to listen to the intelligence, and now the intelligence, and then whenever I talk to somebody, they say, "Oh, Russia interfered." So I said, "Okay, tell me how." H.A. Goodman covers this really good. It's like, oh, a few Facebook ads. Like, I think they spend like $100,000 on Facebook ads. Well, I'm a small business. I'll say right now, my Google Ads bill for 1 month, it was like, just for me, for a small area like Nye County and Clark County, this little bitty area here where I live. It was like something like $12,000-$15,000. Okay, for like 1 month. Okay, I stopped advertising because it was so damn expensive. So I mean, that was just me for a little bitty area. So say it was 200,000, say it was $300,000 in Facebook ads. That affected the outcome of the election in the United States of America with over 300 million people. Really, that was it? And then H.A. Goodman always says, "Oh yeah, right." And so the Russians. And then, of course, they brought in the story the Russians hacked the DNC, which the FBI has never looked at their servers. DNC outsources to CrowdStrike, which is a private company that works for the DNC and gets paid for by the DNC. So the DNC was, of course, they wanted to hear they got hacked. They didn't want to hear that one of their own members leaked it. And they sure shit didn't want to hear that it was Seth Rich. That was the guy that leaked it. They sure shit didn't want to hear that, but they asked Julian Assange, and Assange goes, "Look, I'm not going to tell you who leaked it to me, but I'm going to tell you right now, it was not the Russians." Now he had no reason to lie about that. He could have said, "Well, I'm just not going to tell you," but he wanted to get rid of this whole Russian bullshit narrative. He said, "Look, I'm not going to tell you how I got it, but I'm going to tell you for sure it was not from the Russians." Period. Okay, when he made that stuff public from the leaked emails, so. So why should he believe? And not to mention all these deep state people had every interest in the world to say the Russians did it because they were trying to tie Russia in with Trump to get Trump out of office. We know that now that they were trying to conspire with him. So when he says, "Well, I just asked the guy," and he said they didn't interfere, well, maybe they did. But look, Pelosi's down in fucking Guatemala right now, putting her thumb on the scale to get the socialists elected. She didn't meet with the opposition party candidate. She didn't meet with the current president, which is weird. A congressional delegation goes down to a country and does not and snubs the president. Doesn't even meet with the guy who signed the third country safe agreement, third safe country agreement. Doesn't even meet with him. She's down there. She's down there promoting a meeting with socialist judges, socialist this, socialist that, doing photo ops with them. She's trying to interfere in an election right now. She's doing it right as we speak.
Yeah.
And trust me, those newspaper front page stories, they carry a hell of a, when you read something in the newspaper versus reading it as an advertisement on Facebook, it carries a lot more weight because you're seeing it in the press. It's like, oh, look. And here's Pelosi. She's all smile faces, and she's talking to this person and talking to Torres. She's interfering right now. What do you call that? President Obama remember before Brexit, before the Brexit vote, President Obama goes over to England. To Great Britain, rather. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He's over there in London, and he's holding a press conference, and he's telling the British people, "You better not vote for this. You better not vote for Brexit to leave the EU, because if you do, we're not going to do a trade deal with you. You're going to be on your own. You're going to be in the back of the queue." Those are the exact words. I remember that. You're going to be back of the queue, because I thought it was kind of stupid when he said it. So he was interfering with her election. He was telling the British people how to vote. Okay, he was a foreign national, to wit, a United States citizen, going to Great Britain and interfering in their election, telling them don't vote for Brexit, vote against it. Okay, what was that? Was that do you think President Obama, who got all that, then would have got all the headlines from the Guardian, from the BBC, etc. Do you think that was more? Do you think that was more valuable than like $100,000 worth of Facebook ads? Of course it is. Of course it is. Is that interference? Yes. So, I mean, cut the shit already. China before Trump was going to impose the tariffs. What did China do? They took out full page ads in the Des Moines Register and other Midwestern newspapers, telling the farmers how bad the tariffs were going to be. That the Trump tariffs, how bad they were going to be for you, and you should tell President Trump you're against them. Okay, that was the Chinese. They did it in plain sight. They took out full page ads in the Des Moines Register and other Midwestern newspapers saying, "Tell President Trump this is bad for America, it's bad for you, it's bad for the farmer." You don't think that was interference? Of course it was. Of course it was.
Oh yeah. Well, it's now, but look how many ports of entry China owns in California alone. You know.
Well, who was telling me that last? Somebody was telling me that last night. Who was I talking to? I forgot who I was talking to.
I came on right after you went off the air.
Yeah,
so
somebody.
I didn't know you were.
Yeah, I was on. I had to go off because, well, there was a news story, and I thought it was a picture of something else, but then I saw the same news story today, and I realized, oh, it wasn't. But I was like, oh, shit, what's that? I thought it was something else. So I went off, and then I just deleted the video. So I said, I'm just going to delete it. But I saw the same news story today, and I'm like, oh, that wasn't anything. I could have stayed on that. I could have stayed last night because I was having a good time last night. I was having a lot of fun, but I had to cut it short.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I had to cut it short. But
Yeah.
I forget who I was talking to. They told me that they own all the major ports. They own L.A. Long Beach. Somebody was telling me they own L.A. Long Beach.
Yeah.
Or they manage
I think it was part of their. I think it was part of their the debt that they were trying to collect. You know, they were trying to, it was like kind of like their foothold in the debt that they were supposed to call in from all the money that we had borrowed from them to get for us to get out of debt ourselves. You know, because if they were to, I mean, they're running into problems right now, and they ran into problems right around the time they were going to call in their debt. I don't know specifics, but I do remember people talking about it, and you could see certain things when you look at numbers, but you can't really tell. Like right now, Trump's kind of got them over a barrel a little bit, and I don't know, everyone's like, well, China's got us and yada yada. Well, no, because Trump positioned our economy to be in a good position so we can be in a better position to negotiate with China when it comes to tariffs and the taxation of goods. We don't really, and it's going to be interesting to see how all this plays out because I think Pete the Patriot was covering it where China, it was Pete the Patriot, where China had talked about white supremacy, really, a country that has numerous human rights violations. Talk about, they're putting, it's funny, where's the liberal outrage for all the people of the Middle East that are in real concentration camps in China right now? There's no outrage for that on the left side. Why?
No.
Because it doesn't fit their narrative. In these left-leaning feminist groups, where's all the outrage for all the women who are slaves in third world countries? Oh, there's no outrage for that. They don't care because it doesn't fit their narrative.
Right.
What about all the women in Iran who are literally, showing courage and ripping off their hijabs and, literally showing their faces? I mean, those women could get stoned to death for that. Oh, there's no speaking up for them. Why? Because it doesn't fit the leftist narrative. And
right.
I'll tell you what, these American women who push for Sharia law in this country, they better be prepared to be treated
pretty badly.
Like dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, they better be prepared for it because I guarantee you want to talk about not having rights, you ain't gonna have any. I've seen those videos where these girls are out there, we want Sharia law, and you might have one that has a little bit of common sense among the group. And I forget who it was, but she's like, you understand, the girl who was interviewing the three of them, she's like, you understand Sharia law is not going to benefit any of you. And then you look at the blank expression on their faces because they're hearing it from another woman. I mean, if a guy told them that, they'd say, well, you're trying to mansplain to me. But when you have another woman telling you something, they're it's just, oh, Carl, help, what do we do? I mean, what do we do?
Just we keep doing what everybody's been doing in this country for 200 years. I mean, come on. I think we've had some really big disagreements in the country. Remember, we went to a civil war a long time ago. Remember the 60s,
Yeah.
and even well, no. I tell you what, it's even you can even go back to something even really weird. Go back to the 1930s. Okay, think about the anti-war movement in the 1930s about not getting involved in Europe, or even before World War One.
Yeah.
How the big disagreements in America over should we get involved in the war in Europe or not? In World War One and right before World War Two in the 1930s. Remember that there was some
Yeah.
big disagreements. It was huge. It was huge. There was huge
Yeah.
debates over that whole issue. Okay, that's why Roosevelt was so hesitant to send a lot of aid to Great Britain. In fact, because politically speaking, until we got hit by the Japanese, it was politically it was like the third rail of politics. If he would have started like giving tons of aid to Britain and all this, I mean, he had to do the Lend-Lease. Remember, there was a real kind of twisted kind of thing, Lend-Lease, and the movie Churchill kind of lays it out. Churchill's sitting there like in London, in this underground bunker, directing the war effort. His troops are over there in Dunkirk getting ready to get slaughtered, and pretty much he's going to have to sue for peace with Adolf Hitler. And he's asking Roosevelt for some help on the phone. And Roosevelt says, well, I got those destroyers coming. He goes, well, we need some help kind of like right now. He goes, we're about to be destroyed. He goes, we're about to lose our entire army is about to be surrounded and decimated and wiped out. And if that happens, I'm going to have to make peace with Adolf Hitler. So can you help us out some more? And Roosevelt said, hey, gotta go. Literally, there's a good scene in that movie. If you ever get a chance to watch the movie Churchill, and when he's on the phone with Roosevelt, it's definitely worth watching. Okay, and so I mean, just think of the politics back then. I mean, it happens in this country. That's what the founding fathers anticipated it. They anticipated there would be people on different sides. They put these institutions in place to kind of keep us all level-headed. Okay, you get like a mass shooting, people lose it. Okay, well, good timing that McConnell's keeping the Senate away until September. Okay, because people will start thinking about something else here in a few minutes unless there's another shooting or another one. But I mean, we don't make laws based on emotion. And whenever we do, it comes out fucked up. The Patriot Act came out because of emotion. The FISA court came out because of emotion. Okay, that's what happens. There's an old saying: tough cases make bad law. Like, the jury wants to, like, in other words, like somebody walks in, the little old lady, and she's hit by a car, and the jury wants to give this woman money. But it turns out the little old lady, saw the car coming. It was a neighbor of hers. She's waved her cane at it, intentionally walked into the front of the street and dared this guy and jumped in front of the car saying, oh, fuck you, and the guy accidentally hit her. The jury still wants to give her some money, but the jury has to find liability first. Well, they can't find liability because they're going to torture the law to get her some money. So that's what I'm saying is tough cases make bad law. So this is a tough case. We just had a shooting, right? Okay, we just had a shooting. There are 22 people dead in El Paso. There's a bunch of people dead in Dayton, but we're not going to talk about that because I was a leftist. And there's a bunch of people dead in California. We're not going to talk about that because the guy just turns out to be some kind of an idiot. Okay, but still, there's 22 people dead in El Paso. That's a tough case. We just got to make sure that our representatives don't make bad law as a result of it. Don't work on emotion. Deliberate.
And of course, you won't hear mainstream media talking about that there's a homicide a day in cities in the surrounding cities of like Baltimore and Chicago, but you won't hear them talking about that because it doesn't fit their narrative.
It doesn't fit their narrative.
You know.
It doesn't fit the narrative. But I tell you what, hold on. Tell you what I'm going to do. I've been on for almost 3 hours. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, no, I know. Hey, no, good conversation, man. Good chat and everything. Chat was really good tonight as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream for tonight. So I want to thank everybody that's been on the chat room tonight, everybody who's been viewing us tonight, everybody who will be viewing us later. I want to thank the great Dirtbag for his excellent phone call. I do want to thank the trolls also for their entertainment. It was a lot of fun. I got to take out, I think, one myself, maybe. I took out one. And a lot of our mods got to have some fun tonight, too. So I want to thank you guys for making it an enjoyable evening for all. So anyway, for Carl's Opinions with Carl, have a great night. Mr. Dirtbag, we'd like to say good night to everybody.
Good night, EC. Good night, everybody who's in the chat. Shonda, Jarvis. I can't see who's in the chat, but,
Republic.
Lois,
the Republic Tea Room came in the chat too. Texas. Remember? Remember Texas?
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, she changed her name,
I
but I
haven't
always knew
seen
her.
Lalo in a while.
Lalo
Lalo's...
came on about 2 weeks ago. He came on, in fact. I
Oh,
think
really?
I was on the phone with Effie Loves America, and Lalo came in the chat. I'm like, oh, Lalo, shit, man, it was crazy.
Yeah, we haven't seen him in a while. Hey, I
Yeah,
hope he's doing good. You know, hope everything's going good for him.
right.
I kind of feel bad he couldn't join us that one night.
Yeah,
In the
that
group
kind of
chat,
sucked.
but
Yeah, the group chat. Yeah, that was too bad. All right, hey, Mr.
you
Great
know,
Dirtbag, thanks so much, and thanks everybody for
all
watching. And we'll see you on the next live stream. Have a great night, everybody. Take care. Bye bye.
right, have a good night. All right, have a good night.